2nd, 2026. I'm going to start with the introduction of each planning board member. Adam Raposa. Janice Gomes. Present. Rosemary Eva.
Present.
Alan Myers.
Present.
I'm Cheryl Valentine, the chairperson. I'll be facilitating the meeting. I would also like to introduce Mr. Todd Romano, our planning board attorney, to my left. Chris Spencer, our town planner. Ed Rotella, our land use clerk. And Ashley Sweet, our planning consultant from Weston and Sampson. And that's it. We do have two items we want to move up on the agenda before we start on the first item, which is Trilogy. So could I have a motion to move item 3, the Spring Street, out of order? And
So moved.
okay, thank you.
Second.
Thank you, Rosemary. All those in favor? Okay, unanimous. Item number 3.
So, Madam
Yeah.
Chairwoman, Mr. Attorney Landry has contacted us about continuing this matter to July 7, as he has further discussions with his client as to whether Spring Street should be a public or a private road.
This is the matter of Spring Street?
Yes, ma'am. And it's for the purposes of a continuance,
Can we ask him any questions?
limited.
Okay. Has any work started on Spring Street? We've had some recent questions on that.
Sure. Good evening, Madam Chair. Just for the record, Attorney Matthew Landry on behalf of the applicant. Mr. Romano mentioned that to me just before the meeting. I'm not aware of any construction or any work being done there. I will certainly inquire about it, but I'm not aware of any work that's being done by my clients on Spring Street.
Okay. Will you get back to Attorney Romano?
I certainly
on
will,
that?
yep.
Thank you.
And actually, my clients will be here on another matter this evening, so I can ask them and update Mr. Romano.
Thank you. Are we all set on the time?
Madam Chair, may I ask that we have a site visit to that site before the next meeting?
We'd certainly be agreeable to that. I think that's a great idea, to get the lay of the land and explain where things will go at a time that's mutually convenient. I'm not sure how far in advance we want to schedule that, but I can confer with my clients, and I don't know if we need to schedule that now, or if there's, if we want to coordinate dates, if there's an easier way to do that.
Do we need an extension on the,
We'll get there to the time clock in just a second.
I was just going to ask Ed if he didn't mind coordinating a site visit for the board. Okay.
So, Attorney Landry, if you could
That's
have your
okay.
clients contact Mr. Rotella about dates, and Mr. Rotella will also poll the board as to their dates of availability
Will do.
and see what we can come up with.
And with that,
need a motion?
Can we have a motion, 1, to continue the matter to the July 7 meeting, and 2, with Mr. Landry's consent, to extend the time clock to, I'm going to ask July 30th.
It's consented to.
So moved.
Consented to.
Second.
all those in favor? Unanimous. Thank you. The second item we'd like to move up is item number 4, Stafford Farms, and this is for the purpose of continuing it to the July 7th, 2026 meeting.
Madam Chairwoman, Attorney Court Chappelle contacted me about this matter. He is still putting together final plans for this board's review, following its site walk back in, I'm going to say September or October, where the applicant received feedback from Ms. Sweet as to revisions that should be made. So they are asking for a continuance of this matter to July 7th, and they've also consented to extending the time clock to July 30th. So if we could have a motion to do both those things, continue to July 7 and extend the time clock to July 30.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you. All those in favor? Unanimous. Okay. We're ready to start on item 1?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we can start on item 1, public hearing that was continued for major land development, 0 Main Road, Sousa Road, Plat 119, Lot 124. This is the project Trilogy, Tiverton. Representing agent is Attorney Matthew Landry. Attorney Landry.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. Attorney Matthew Landry on behalf of the applicant. I've got Mr. Jordan Durham, representative from the applicant to my left, and Chris Duhamel from Dupree Engineering at the podium. Thank you for rescheduling this hearing and having us first on the agenda. We have been patient, as has the board, with other matters that were pending before you, so we're glad to be back in front of you. I'd just like to briefly recap where we left off and where we're at and what the project is proposing, and then focus on the RMUC amendments that were proposed and some changes that have been made since we were last in front of you. There's an existing master plan approval that was a comprehensive permit application submitted a few years back, and we've got an extension of that approval through, I believe it's the end of January of 2027. Mr. Durham and his company have come in and proposed a different design for the project. He has opined on the issues with the amount of commercial development that was originally approved for the site. It was approved as a mixed-use development with an LMI component, and the mixed-use ordinance and your regulations requires that the commercial be on the first space, residential on the second space. So there's a substantial amount of impervious pavement, parking associated with all the commercial uses. There was also a 4,500 square foot restaurant that was approved for the site, as well as a commercial building. So a pretty intensive commercial mixed-use development. Because of the location, the grade, and the market that Mr. Durham can comment further on, and how he has testified previously before this board, is that the market will really not sustain the amount of commercial space for the site based on the location and just market conditions. So, we'd rather redesign the project to be more feasible while maintaining a portion of the commercial along Main Road in Sousa, where there's a high trafficked area, more visible, and makes more sense than where the residential component is going to be. So there's actually a reduction in the density that's being proposed here compared to what was already approved. It was approved for 46 units. We're now at 40 residential units. So this project is not coming in as a comprehensive permit, but rather a new master plan application, which technically an amendment, but new master plan before you. It's going to maintain 4 LMI units. The 40 residential units will be comprised of 17 duplexes, 2 single-family units, and the mixed-use building along Main Road. That main building will have the commercial component along with 4 LMI units. And that, as Mr. Durham has explained, works better for financing. It gets very difficult when the LMI units are mixed in with the residential and commercial, and it gets a little bit more complicated. So separating those and having those equal units and the commercial component makes more sense. The allowable density in this zone would be up to 56 units, so we're far below what would be allowed under traditional zoning requirements. Again, this is not a comp permit. This is coming in as a new master plan application, and we had originally pitched this at a pre-application for either a comp permit or the proposal that's in front of you. And as we went through the process, there was some discussion over whether or not we would qualify under the RMUC, the age-restricted mixed-use community zoning ordinance, which is section 17 or 18. Sorry, I don't have it in front of me. As you know, that ordinance was developed in conjunction with the Villages of Mount Hope Bay, a 55-plus community that also has a commercial component to it. After conferring with council and lengthy discussions on whether or not that would be applicable, it was determined that there was a jurisdictional requirement, the way the RMUC ordinance has been drafted, and that it requires 90 acres of land and over 2,600 square feet of frontage on a coastal navigable waterway. But with that being said, the ordinance actually allows this in every zoning district other than residential, ironically. So the comprehensive plan and the RMUC ordinance actually contemplates an RMUC 55-plus community in the general business zone, which this property is in. It's directly across the street from the villages. So it makes a lot of sense. The jurisdictional component restricted us because it's included in the definition of RMUC. We had originally sought variances from those requirements, but it's cleaner and more appropriate to go this way through a text amendment. And the feedback, as you may recall from Mr. Spencer and other members of the board, was that there's a concern over the long-term impacts and the unforeseen consequences of amending this ordinance townwide, and where else could it apply townwide. And we've prepared a slide that's in this show. I don't know if, Chris, you have that, or Jordan. We did an analysis with the GIS overlay map, and I think Ms. Sweet had done this at some point as well. We actually looked at all the zoning districts where this would apply. It's a little bit difficult to see on here, but we highlighted 3 rings on the GIS map. It's the 4th slide, I think. Yeah, actually, no, the one before that. So it's hard to see on here, but there's 3 red circles that represent the general business zoning districts. There's really less than 4 parcels in all of town that are zone GB. The way the RMUC reads now is it's allowed in every zoning district other than residential. So the large purple industrial district, it would be allowed. The blue district where the Villages is, if you can see that all the way to the left of the screen, that's the Villages at Mount Hope Bay, where it's zoned. So this would have a significant impact on other properties that are zoned for this. So in collaboration with staff, council, Mr. Spencer, Mr. Rotella, who we greatly appreciate your time and efforts on this, we feel personally a 55-plus community makes a lot of sense. Most towns would love this because it's got less fiscal impacts, is more controlled, and far less density than a traditional residential development, far less intense than what's already approved for the site, with a mixture of all the commercial activity and parking that goes along with it. So we've had several revisions to the text amendment that's being proposed. I expect you have the most updated version before you. The changes are highlighted in blue. And just to highlight those, there's not a lot of significant changes here that are hard to follow. We've really limited where you could do an RMUC development to just 2 zoning districts. So essentially, we've stripped the ordinance of any language referring to other zoning districts and have limited this only to the W2, the waterfront zoning district, which is highlighted in blue on this slide. And that's the Villages of Mount Hope Bay, so we haven't touched that. It's where it's already allowed and already developed. And we've made it only applicable to the general business district, which are only 3 parcels in town. This lot is one of them. There's one off the end of Bulgar-Marsh, I believe. And then the parcel that has the town library on it is zone GB. So this would minimize the impacts, the long-term impacts, and the ability to develop something like this on a town-wide basis. And that goes to the root of the concerns that I believe Mr. Spencer had raised and other members had raised. And we came up with this language as a good way to control and predict where these developments could pop up in the future. Should my client, sell the property, or somebody else acquires a GB property, this would provide some control over it. There's also a set of frontage and lot area requirements that we've included. So we've respected the 90 acres and the 2,600 square feet of frontage for the W2 zone where the property is already developed for an RMUC. But we've incorporated additional frontage and buildable lot area requirements that further restrict the ability to do this on other lots to, again, minimize not minimize the ability to do this, but control and have control over where this could pop up elsewhere in town. And again, it's really less than a handful of lots the way that it's been drafted. It requires now 120 feet of frontage on a public street. And I'm sorry, I keep referring it to the GB zone. It's the GC zone, the general commercial zone. And requiring no less than 5 acres of suitable land for development. And as you know, suitable land for development excludes certain exclusions for wetlands and roadways and easements and things. So So we've built in additional safeguards by having a lot area and frontage requirement, all of which this lot conforms to. We would not need variances from those, but it does provide that protection that the town was looking for downstream. As it currently stands, the underlying setbacks apply to this zoning district. So the R60 zone is the closest residential zoning district that was used for the current approval. That is what was proposed and used for the density calculations for the residential component on this lot. And we're proposing to incorporate and clarify that the underlying setbacks for the zone will continue to apply if it's an RMUC. So again, it's a third layer of protection that we know what setbacks will apply and further restricts what you can and cannot do in conjunction with an RMUC. That language has been incorporated. There's also some clarification to the language. When you do an RMUC development, the commercial component needs to be separated from the residential lot. So there'll be an administrative subdivision of this that's required under the RMUC already. But it was unclear what setbacks and buffer requirements are required from the lot that contains the commercial component. So with the help of council, we've incorporated some language to clarify that those buffers still apply, but they apply to the RMUC, or excuse me, the lot with the commercial component. And it's in line with how it reads today. It was a little bit unclear on the applicability of that and how it would be applied to the development. So really what we've done here is streamline the language here to minimize the zoning districts that this could be done on. There's only a handful of lots in town that this could be done on. One is a town-owned lot that has the library on it, is already developed. The Villages of Mount Hope Bay is already developed, obviously. So we've taken away that risk of the 90-plus lots where this could have been done under the current zoning regulation, and further restricted it to address the concerns. And we've conferred with council and planning staff and Mr. Spencer on this to ensure that these requirements address those concerns. And I don't want to speak for you, Mr. Spencer, but we feel that this is a good, a well-developed ordinance that's taken several months to get to where we think is a good balance between what the client is trying to do here and putting forth a 55-plus development that is called for in your comprehensive plan. The zoning ordinance already allowed it in this zoning district, so we're really not asking for anything new. We're really just carving out that jurisdictional prohibition that was likely designed just to accomplish the Villages of Mount Hope Bay. But mixed use and 55-plus housing is clearly called for in the comp plan, and we've cited those provisions in the submission materials. I know that's a lot of information and background. We have included in our slides some additional materials between the last meeting and this one. We've addressed some comments that the fire chief had during the TRC. There was some specific requests that there be fire access to the 3 units along Sousa Road. At the bottom of your screen, you'll see 3 little skinny strips there along those 3 units. His concern was that the ladder trucks and the fire trucks couldn't go down that one-way pathway, which is roadway B. That's actually just a driveway. It's not a street. It's to access the rear of those buildings. And the compromise was that we put in access by way of stairs or stones or something that's safe to traverse from Sousa Road directly to those 3 units. And that has been that deemed acceptable to the fire chief. And I believe Chris has some confirmation of that. So we've addressed that. The other big component of this, and one that's required in the RMUC district, is some community space, recreational space. So we've incorporated a new concept plan for this 8,000 square foot overlook area that incorporates benches and seating areas and a walking path that goes around. And this will be at a higher elevation. There was some questions about what this would look like that Jordan has put together. There's a couple of pictures on the next slide that show, again, this is conceptual, but it gives you an idea of what this overlook park will look like. and we can further develop that. Again, these are some actual concept renderings of, other developments that Jordan is familiar with. We could incorporate some of these elements into the design. Again, we're at master plan. It's conceptual, but we're certainly open to suggestions. But this was something that was asked of the applicant that we wanted to incorporate into this package and show that the applicant's taken some time to further develop that and incorporate those elements. I think that's all I had to add. Chris, do you want to just comment on the fire chief and any other specific TRC comments that came up in the meantime, please?
Is it your hand? Hold on. Right hand. We swear or affirm that the testimony you shall give to this board in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And that is your solemn affirmation.
I do.
Thank you.
For the record, I'm Chris Duhamel from Dupree Engineering with offices located at 90 Broadway in Newport. Yes, the fire chief had a couple of concerns regarding access to the site off of Sousa Road. If you recall, there was a winding S-type access with two 90-degree turns. It was felt to be better to ride straight up the hill. It creates a slope that's equal to what the maximum slope is for the town of Tiverton for a public roadway. So we provided a truck turning exhibit that's within this in front of us now that shows the truck being able to safely negotiate around the 1,100 feet of cul-de-sac and exit back out. So it eliminated that concern for the fire chief and also the public. The public had a retired fire chief that had noted that. So we had met with the fire chief and the town planner, Chris Spencer, to go over this revised plan, and has since received an approval email from Captain Murphy regarding the acceptance of this. He had mentioned that the width of the street was 20 feet. To be clear, we proposed 22 feet of width for the site. Other items, as Matt has said, is access to buildings 17, 18, and 19 is now fire access is through Sousa Road and with steps leading to the front door. Additional hydrant is added, totaling 2, but this also could be revised if the fire marshal, Chief Murphy, wants something more. The freshwater wetland delineation is now provided. Verification by DEM is noted. Trash removal is specified within the site plans. A gravel path to the cemetery for maintenance is required and noted. The density calcs are revised to eliminate wetland buffers for suitable land, even though state law would allow that to be considered for this development. It doesn't matter. So there were minor changes that were incorporated based on what the planning board had asked and what the public comment period had asked.
The only other comment I would add, at the last meeting that we had, it was late in the evening, and I just wanted to reiterate that there was a request to supplement the traffic report that Mr. Bannon had done for the original project. We had submitted some statistics that he provided to us. He reevaluated the original peak hour estimates, which were 49 AM trips and 47 PM trips. I'm sorry, 147 PM trips. And the significance of those trips was rooted really because of the commercial activity and all the mixed use, the restaurant, the commercial building, and all the commercial units below the residential units with the site. He reviewed the property with no age restriction, but less commercial component. And it went down from 49 AM to 26 AM trips and just 33 PM trips from 147. He also reevaluated those statistics based on the age-restricted component that we're proposing with the small commercial building along Main. That went down even further to just 15 a.m. trips and 23 p.m. trips. So a significant reduction in traffic from what is currently approved with the commercial use. Those documents and exhibits were submitted at that hearing. I just wanted to again reiterate that that was supplemented and that was a significant reduction in the expected traffic for the site. And I know that's important to the board based on downstream developments and whatnot on Sousa Road. So at this point, I think that's all we had. We had the architect come originally, and Jordan had spoken briefly about the need to remove the commercial component and why this development makes a lot more sense. It really, at the end of the day, is a more feasible project. We don't want empty storefronts. The access and where this is and the grade just makes it a difficult site based on his market experience and what would be viable here. But we maintain that commercial component along Main Road where it's going to get more traffic and visibility and make more sense. We've also had just very brief off-the-cuff discussions with the Cumberland Farms that's going there next door. There was some discussion about shared driveway aprons seasons. Seasons on the market. It would make sense to have some sort of collaborative discussion there on access or internal driveways. We certainly can't make them agree to anything, but we've had some very basic conversations with them at the request of the town, and we're open to that. So if there's anything we can do in that regard, we're open to it. I just wanted to note that for the board too, that may be helpful for siting the building and parking and things of that nature. So that's all we have, but I'm certainly open to any questions that the board may have of the applicant.
Thank you, Attorney Landry. I'd like to just find out, does our planning office have a summary of this project with a recommendation yet, or are you still working on that?
They have a draft. They don't
Okay.
have findings of
Draft.
fact as to the specific required findings that are required.
Okay.
We will certainly have that ready for the next meeting, or if you want to hear this project for decision purposes only on the 16th, you can do that too.
Okay. Do you want to start with questions? Does our planning office have any questions for Attorney Landry?
Just a couple.
Are you still going to receive updated water and sewer letters? Are we still
We could do
aiming
that.
for the?
We're in that process.
Okay, so that was just one of the things that was just called out, but that's going to be a preliminary plan. And the other questions that I had were already addressed with the updated wetland buffer calculation, so we're good.
Thank you. Ashley, do you have any comments? Chris?
Yeah, sure. Item more, just in terms of the process that we went through, both with the planning board and then working with the developer. We did go through all of the sort of pros and cons of the previous development with the higher density, more commercial, and, really, in reality, trying to market those commercial spaces up on a hillside, also facing across potential residential development is difficult. So it seemed that this was really the better option of the two. So we worked closely with them, worked closely on the mixed use on Main Road. And the approach really with the RMUC is sort of twofold. One is trying to make sure that whatever changes are done to the RMUC don't have unintended consequences town-wide. So it's really trying to make sure that those were very minor in detail, that were appropriate to this scale development. But also that gives us as a department, and then with planning board in the future, an opportunity to really study age-restricted communities town-wide to look at where they're appropriate, what the standards would be, things like that, absent of a development itself. So we wouldn't be in reaction to something that's being proposed. It allows us to be a lot more thoughtful in that approach and look at where else any kind of age-restricted community might be, whether it's an RMUC or some other permutation of that. So that was kind of the approach we used with all of that. And again, trying to see if there was an opportunity to work with developments like Seasons next door for that shared access. So they were very amenable to that potential, but, at this point, we can't really force them to do that, so. That's all I have right now.
Thank you. Attorney Romano?
No.
Okay. Start with the board. Alan Lewis?
I just had a question about the retail property in the bottom. Are you retaining that in this plan for just a separate, of course, unit, but or is that not part of this?
The mixed-use building?
Yes, on Main Road.
Yeah, that's still proposed as it's always been with this image.
Does this separate that from the actual units up top? I mean,
No, so that building, I think what he was referring to is that the RMREC requires that it be subdivided through an administrative subdivision, so it's a separate
Okay.
lot.
That's right.
But we're proposing that we would develop it all as one project,
Okay, all right.
That's right.
under the same ownership.
But no connection between the two, not a stairs or road or anything like that?
No, that was evaluated. Unfortunately, because of the grade and, the path and ADA accessibility, it just, Chris can opine on that. I mean, that was,
I know.
we tried to. I think it would be great if we could, but it just was not feasible or safe to do that,
Okay.
unfortunately.
So
You
for,
can see from this plan, like along the edge of this overlook park area,
Yes.
there's a retaining wall, and then there's a significant, you can see in this plan of the park, there's a significant retaining wall, and then a significant amount of vegetated slope. And I think when we ran the calculations with both Chris's team and then the landscape architect again, it's about 650 feet of ramp that would be required to get down there with an accessible route, so
Right.
it would be like a goat path.
so there'll be 4 units still on the retail space downstairs?
Yeah, there's one ADA accessible unit on the ground floor and then 3 units on the second floor.
Okay.
You're not integrating the LMI into the other, everything's going to be over that building?
Yeah, all of the LMI units are proposed as sort of a standalone project, if you will, within the commercial space. And the thinking behind that is that, it allows us to just make it a much easier financing package with Rhode Island Housing to do sort of a small scale, limited grant allocation
And to
round.
sell the building later on?
What's that?
And to sell the building later on?
Yeah, or we could partner with a local CDC, like in East Bay or somebody to do something
Right.
like that.
The other question, the plans, the TRC that we had has been overcome by these plans, correct?
This is updated from the TRC.
It is, and we didn't have a meeting, that's what I'm getting at, and we had no discussion. This is new to me tonight, that's why I'm asking. And the fire chief, I'm not a fireman, but coming off of Sousa Road here, those steps or whatever they are, doesn't make too much sense to me, but I'm just one person.
There's
It's like a front walkway that goes from the
Walkway.
road to the front door of the house.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Too much to digest tonight.
I mean, I think the comments from the TRC that we've addressed were fairly minor. We basically addressed the fire chief's concerns, and he then reiterated that he was
Right.
acceptable with those.
But we were
with
looking at
what we
different
addressed.
plans, and now tonight we've got, new ones.
They weren't
Well,
different.
they're made to address what the comments were, the switchback roadway
Understand.
that was rising it, so this is more, without turning movements, this is a lot more, and with the headlights that would be focused on the individual units, this corrects all of that with a straight run into it, so it's more desirable is what I was trying to find a word for.
Thank you.
Hey, Chris, can you confirm when these plans were updated and submitted? That was quite some time ago.
It was April, after the March meeting, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, so the plans that you have in front of you have been with the board since April.
They weren't downstairs
Matt,
2 days ago.
something for the record, and I'm not sure, Jordan, if you were here or not, but we have had this on some of us that are old timers remember this as being the refinery here, and I brought up the possibility of the Brownsfields and my concern, and I still hope that you will look that over.
We are well aware of the brownfield situation
Okay.
on the property. Sage Environmental, we have about 700 pages of environmental reports that they've done and summarized from the previous work that has been done on this site to clean it up. At this time, the property has been accepted as clean from DEM.
Understand,
But the condition that DEM has is that as we do excavation work, we will need to have SAGE or some other environmental professional on site to be doing monitoring and overseeing any moving of dirt. And any export of dirt would have to be done to a licensed facility.
Will these be done on slabs, or will there be basements to them?
They're intended to have basements. There may be some spots where we find that there's ledge and we need to accommodate, slabs, but we're hoping to have basements for all the units.
Thank you.
There's definitely some rock on the site as well.
Ms. Eva, I just want to make sure I understand. The brownfields concern, was that not addressed in the SAGE report, or are you looking for something more?
I'm not sure if Jordan was involved in that. We've had Trilogy, we've had Oxford, we've had so many.
This is Trilogy.
Yeah, just to,
This is Trilogy, I understand.
I'm a
but, I mean,
partner
it's
of
been-
Trilogy.
and
We
then it
owned the
wasn't gonna be
property.
developed and,
So we purchased the property directly from Starwood, which
Okay.
was the owner that developed Mount Hope Bay. Right, this was sort of excess land when they
Understand.
folded up their fund. Oxford was another group that had the property under contract,
okay.
trying to buy it from us. They defaulted under their contract, so we decided to pursue it and do it ourselves instead of letting somebody else do it.
Thank you.
I just want to make sure we're clear. There's an ESA Phase 1 report from SAGE. Does that satisfy your concerns about the brownfields?
We were told by one of the applicants that they were aware of it and they would be monitoring it too. I have seen some of the reports.
If I can just ask Mr. Durham to just elaborate, just again for the record, Mr. Durham, there is a Phase 1 environmental report that was prepared by Sage Environmental, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and the report concluded that it's been returned to residential use or is permissible as a residential use?
Yes.
Okay, and it will continue to be monitored during excavation by DEM and/or Sage Environmental?
Yes, exactly. Effectively, the nature of any cleanup like this, they do what they need to do to get it clean, but there's always the possibility that they miss something, and when you're doing excavation, you
Right.
might find what they missed, and that's why the environmental professional will be there as part of the ongoing oversight.
And that's what SAGE recommends in its report. So are there any other concerns that we need to be aware of?
I just want it on the record.
Okay.
Janice, do you have any questions? Adam?
Do you have any plans to make it, at least since you're not doing a path from the main development itself down to the retail, do you have any plans to do any pedestrian accessibility from at least the main entrance of the condos to the, oh, yeah,
Down
okay.
from our property down to the Seasons, which will then extend their sidewalks back to our property at the other corner, so.
How will what do you have, so there's steps now going from Sousa Road to 3 of the houses?
So, here, I can go back. So previously,
Yeah, okay.
the walkways that would lead to the front door of the townhouses that face
Okay, so they
Sousa
just go right to
Road.
the sidewalk, it's not like the sidewalk cuts the room?
No, it's just a walkway. It's,
Yeah, okay.
it's just like anybody's front walkway going to the front door of their house. These units,
I
to
don't
show you
know
what the
the-
elevations of these look
Yeah,
like,
thank you.
they're,
Okay.
so these are the units that would be fronting those, that's showing the front door that would be facing Sousa Road.
Okay.
So instead of just having a walkway going, perpendicular, across the front of the house, there would
Yeah.
actually be a stone
So the
walkway
top
of
of
some
the
sort
foundation
going.
is not too much higher than Sousa Road itself?
It's a little bit higher, but
Yeah.
not too much higher. I don't have the
Okay.
exact grades in front of me.
Thank you.
I'd like to open it up to the public for brief comments. Does anyone from the public have any comments on item number 1?
Meredith Mucci, East Road, Tiverton. And I am sorry I've come to a lot of these meetings if I'm being redundant, but are we beholden to allow this development? Is the thing that is in the way just they need some variance type stuff and then they can move ahead? My point being, the density just seems really too much. And I know it was part of something previous and that density was pre-approved. But as a town, if we're really trying to move away from that type of density and without making a variance so that they can move forward with that, I'm just wondering, are we beholden? Is there any benefit? A second question that I'm not, is there a benefit to the town to allowing this type of density to go into this space?
The attorney will comment on that, what's required by law.
So there's a couple things, Ms. Mucci. First of all, you're right, they do have an approved master plan already, which they can forge ahead with, should they so desire, with a higher density than this. Secondly, the density that they're proposing here comports with the RMUC ordinance, which would not right now, today, apply to this property because of certain requirements, for example, that it be on a waterfront, but they're proposing amendments to the RMUC ordinance, limited amendments. And I think that's how I could answer that question.
So the master plan that's pre-approved from the past is denser than this, but they can't really move forward with any of it unless we make the amendments to the RMUC. If I'm saying that correctly, I'm so sorry.
Right, to approve this project would require amending the RMUC. And if the RMUC is amended, then this density would be allowed.
And I'm just trying to figure out why the town would want to make that concession at this time, in particular, with so much development going on. Like, what, is there a benefit to the town, or do they have a strong arm that if, like with all of the compulsive...
This is not a comprehensive permit project, so we're not under that
Yep.
strong arm, right? There are benefits to the town. I'm not going to try to make the applicant's case for that,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, it's like tax benefits type of thing. I would just mean...
There's
yeah.
some of that. It's elderly housing that would be provided to the
that's-
town, in this instance at least.
Yep. And it sounds like they've already made, in trying to get their amendments that they're proposing, they have reduced some of the density already? Is that what kind of, there's been a little back and forth to make at least that happen?
I think that they've just reduced the density, the housing density, because that's their preferred style for this project.
Okay,
We previously had 46 units proposed. We now have 40 total units proposed.
okay.
And we've reduced the commercial space and the parking requirement. Like, we had 200 and something parking spaces previously, so we've cut the amount of cars coming to this site more than in half.
And although not a comprehensive permit project, they are offering voluntarily 4 LMI units, which
Understood. So...
will it help the town? I don't know, compared to the other units because of the math, right?
Well, in any case, I just, as a citizen, let it be said that I don't really love the density and the continued density that is happening not only in this, but I understand that it's a conversation, so thank you.
I'm just going to weigh in on that real quick. So I think, just to answer your question, I'm over here. Just to answer the question, part of what we looked at really, was what the previous development looked like that they had approval for. And we looked at to see if this was something that took a lot of those things that could be adverse impacts and reduce those. So to reduce the amount of units, it reduced by quite a lot the traffic impacts from this particular parcel. It provides the elderly housing. It provides some of the other amenities, and it really starts to do what we're trying to do with Main Road, which is to create those mixed-use commercial opportunities within those form-based codes. So it had a lot of things that I think were a good benefit to the town by doing that, rather than saying, you can't do it, go back and do the previous approved plan, which really, again, could have created a lot of commercial units that would have been vacant or hard to market, a lot higher density, and much higher traffic impacts. So that's the way I looked at it as the planner, and try to make sure that everything we're doing is going to be better for the town than what was proposed before. So,
Thank you.
Craig Comito, 204 Saxony Ave. My question is with the commercial, right? So it got cut down a little bit and moved to a different section. How is that cutback going to affect us, and what type of commercial are we looking for in this area? What type of commercial are we trying to bring in? Like anybody?
So we have reduced the amount of commercial space in this project to just one ground floor space, which is about 1,700 square feet, maybe 1,500 square feet. So the target for this is some sort of a cafe or a small retail or professional office use.
We had a 4,500 square foot restaurant. previous. It was quite intense.
Stand up, Mr. Duhamel, please.
The previous master plan had a 4,500 square foot restaurant. It had a number of retail outlets on the first floor. So this is modified
Quite a bit.
quite a bit.
So why the major cutback on the, why the major cutback, which is what the town needs, is a lot of commercial base. So why the major cutback on the commercial is, and that's what the town needs the most.
There's just no demand to put commercial space up the hill, not accessed from Main Road, and there's no feasible way to make an access to that upper portion of the property from Main Road. The only viable commercial site with the traffic counts that would be needed to support commercial use is on that lower portion which fronts on Main Road. I mean, I'm a commercial developer, believe me. I build commercial projects. I built the Trader Joe's in Providence. I built a lot of retail space. I built grocery stores. I built retail. If there was a retail demand to put some big retail complex here, we would be doing it. There's just no demand for it.
A.G. Miranda, Captain Circle. Just to get a better understanding, so the density is not an issue with the town? They don't have to give a variation for putting all these units in this particular square area? Is that correct?
Are you talking about the number of units?
Yes.
If they need a variance?
No, if approved through the RMUC ordinance, this proposal meets the density requirements.
So there's no variations for that?
Correct. No variances required.
in the town required? Okay. So as far as the commercial buildings go, there's going to be a restaurant that's open to the public, is that it?
No. We have about a 1,500 square foot ground floor commercial space proposed along Main Road. We do not have a tenant identified for that space yet, but it could be a small cafe. It could be, like I said, a dry cleaner. It could be a dentist's office. It could be any kind of, ground floor small commercial use.
So if it's open to the public, anybody can go in and out, and is that taken into consideration in the traffic plan? Because it sounds like
Yes.
there could be a lot of vehicles going in and out just for the commercial
It's a
space.
significant reduction than what was previously approved by
Well,
the
it
town.
doesn't matter what's approved in the past, I'm talking about the future. How many people are going to be accessing it? Is it going to be a supermarket?
No, it's a 1,500 square foot space, so it would likely be a small coffee shop, a dry cleaner, a professional office, a dentist.
Okay.
Can we put the slide up that shows the access? It's not off of Sousa Road. It's off Main Road.
Yeah, I understand that, but
Okay.
what is going to limit the amount of access to it? If it's a certain kind of type of building, you're saying it's going to be a laundromat or a restaurant that can have, hundreds of seats in it.
You can't fit hundreds of seats in a 1,500 square foot space. The space is dictated by the size of the building. And we only have parking, which meets the zoning requirement that would serve it. And as you can see, there aren't that many parking spots because it's not that big of a space.
So the most population that you could get in your commercial buildings was taken into consideration for the traffic plans?
Yes.
Okay, that was basically the question. And as far as the sewerage and water usage of the commercial are also factored in to what's going to be designed for?
We have not fully engineered the water demand study on this project. We will do that at the next phase. Obviously, with the commercial use, it could vary. You could have a dentist office that uses a little bit of water. You could have a dress shop that uses almost no water. So we don't know what the tenant will be, but it's a small space, so there's not going to be more than 1 or 2 bathrooms in that space. And we can't imagine that the water demand would be any higher than a residential unit in that space.
So it's
And Mr. Miranda, let me say this. This is master plan. At
Right.
preliminary plan, more of the questions you're asking will probably be addressed.
Right.
Because that's when the real engineering will be presented to the board.
right. And are there going to be any complications when you get to that point?
If they have complications, then they can't do it.
Right.
So what's the question?
So you'll know at that time then?
We will know at that time.
Okay, that's my point. Thank you.
If I may, Madam Chair, just to reiterate too, that the point Mr. Romano just made, that this is the first stage in a 3-stage process. The master plan stage is intentionally limited to just concept design with a very light level of engineering, but this will not be shovels in the ground if this were to get approved tonight. There's another very intensive public hearing process that can go as much as 3 months, where all your engineering, water studies, all those things will be required to the satisfaction of the board and to the town. So we are sensitive to those concerns, and they will certainly be addressed at the next stage of review as required.
Thank you. Susan?
Susan Anderson, Main Road in the Osborne Bennett Historic District. I'm wondering about the lighting. Are you going to have street lights or anything in here?
We haven't fully developed that because of the nature of the master plan level. I expect there'll be a full photometric plan that's required at preliminary plan, show dark sky compliance and things of that nature. We fully intend to comply with all those and not ask for waivers from those items, but it's not something that we can ascertain at the master plan level, but certainly we'll provide that at the next stage.
Because being in the neighborhood, that I can see this from my house, we're concerned you're going to be up on a hill higher than what we are. So anything that you think is dark sky compliant, we're going to be seeing because it's going to be up above us.
Sure.
So that's my concern for the neighborhood.
We certainly don't have any intention of doing street lighting that's above and beyond what's required by the town, but we have not designed it yet.
Okay.
And from the town's perspective, we'll be looking at the cutoff of those fixtures at the property line or as close to it as we can. So we'll try to minimize any kind of light spill beyond the property.
But remember that they're up on a hill.
I understand. Yep.
So we'll see that. The other thing, just so you know, Seasons has not been approved. It's in court still. So we're still hoping that there won't.
Yeah, we are clearly proceeding on our plans without, we can only do what we can do on our property, so.
Paul Amaral, 9 Watermark Drive. Just a question. Does the applicant continue to seek an amendment to the zoning ordinance Article 4 and 18 to amend the required minimum lot size, remove the navigable water frontage requirement, and to reduce the buffer requirements?
Yes.
My second question is, what is the town's obligation to grant those amendments?
There's no obligation. It's whether it makes good planning sense. And that will be decided by the board.
So there's no legal obligation to grant that then?
There's no statute that would require the town to make those amendments to the RMOC.
Okay, thank you.
I'd just like to remind everybody that the reason we ended up going down this path of the RMUC was because we came into the planning board for a pre-application about a year ago, a little over a year ago, presenting 2 plans that were effectively the same plan for all intents and purposes. And we said, we have 2 ways that we can go about this. We can do it as an age-restricted mixed-use community, or we can do it as a comprehensive permit. And it seemed like there was overwhelming support at the time that the age-restricted mixed-use community was the more beneficial pathway for the town. We can always reapply with this as a comp permit, and we'll probably come in with a higher density than what is currently proposed because we'd have to make up the differential of adding those affordable units that are going to be scattered into the townhouses. But we went this path because we thought that that's what the board was sort of pushing us towards, was to go that direction. So I just want to make that clear that we have an approved comprehensive permit. We still have the right to amend our comprehensive permit. And we did this and took this path because it seemed like the board was the most amenable to the age-restricted element of it.
Thank you.
A.G. Miranda, Captain Circle, thank you for the extra minute onto my questioning. I just want to get it straight. Sorry for my ignorance. Now that it's under the RMOC classification and not the density that the state's requiring us to have, that we don't want, does that mean the poor people don't have to live there now?
I don't know if I understand your question. If you do, Jordan.
I'd rather not. I think I know what he's saying. I'd rather not answer it. We are proposing 10% of the units as affordable. We have 4 low to moderate income units that would comply with 80% AMI rental rates.
But it's not a requirement now.
It's voluntary.
Voluntary. Okay. Thank you.
Any other comments from the public? Okay. At this point, we're not prepared to vote tonight. Do we want to vote on the next date to hear this and to have a decision by the board? We'll have the summary from the planning office shortly. I'm sorry? Okay. So if we could continue this, have a motion to continue this to the June 16th meeting?
I would recommend the June 16th meeting so we can get this matter off your agenda.
That is the
Right.
next special meeting that we have for
Bill?
Vital.
You should. Well, you should have a written decision by then. I understand now, this evening, that you also need the revised plans, right? Is there anything else that you're missing, Ms. Eva?
The
A net-
project summary with the recommendation from the planning
Right,
office?
right.
Okay.
Beyond that draft decision with the narrative and the revised site plans, anything else? And I'm sure you would have a list for me.
Check it twice.
Yes, ma'am.
So if I could have a motion to continue this to the June 16th meeting?
So moved.
Do I have a second? All those in favor? Okay, unanimous.
Thank
And
you.
with that, we'd need a time clock extension.
Thank you.
Certainly to coincide with the June 16th hearing.
Can you give us a couple days in case it has to be rescheduled due to a hurricane or something?
Fair enough. Yes, we can certainly do so. I'm not sure what the deadline was today. Should we say June 30th just to be
Just
safe?
say out to July, whatever, so we can, if we have to go on the next meeting, we're on the next meeting.
That'd be wonderful, to the
It's-
July meeting.
Is it July 7th?
July 7th.
July 7th?
Yeah, so a continuance of the time clock to July 7th for purposes of a decision.
Thank you very much.
That would be
Thank you.
appreciated. Thank you very much. And for your patience with the last meeting.
I appreciate it. I understand. We're all
Do we
all
need
the
a
same
motion
boat.
on that?
We'd have a motion. We need to do a vote, Mr. Landry, that's all. You have a motion to continue to June 16th and to extend the time clock to July 7th.
So moved.
All those in favor? Okay, unanimous.
Thank you.
Okay. Next one? Okay, the next item on the agenda, item 2, major land development, 222 Eagleville Road, lot 601, west side of Eagleville Road. It's the ECC Eagleville Tradesman Center. Attorney Akers representing.
All right. So I'm getting situated. Good evening, members of the board. Thank you for having us tonight. My name is Bo Akers. I am an attorney at Bransky Levinson, located at 1543 Fall River Avenue, Suite 1, Seekonk, Massachusetts. This application is on behalf of ECC Eagleville LLC, the applicant and owner of the property, as is on the screen, located at 222 Eagleville Road, Plat 105, Lot 601. The property is in the industrial zone. Just to note, all the abutters are also in the industrial zone. The property consists of 27.61 acres approximately. With this application, there are no requests or requirements for dimensional variances, nor are there any requests for special use permits. What's proposed here is a major land development. It is a mixed-use complex of less than 20,000 square feet, which is allowed by right in the industrial zone. The structure is, the proposed structure, or I should say background before there, the existing property, okay? The existing property is predominantly vacant. It has one existing material storage yard towards the rear of the property, which is reflected in the site plans. The forefront of the property along Eagleville Road is where the proposed project is to be located, which would consist of an 18,000 square foot metal building, okay, with paving around that. Moreover, the intention here is for office space and construction shops essentially for tradesmen. On that note, the site plans, the traffic that's been performed have all been performed looking at the more intense uses that could be on the property. When it comes to use, I know this has come up prior in concept plan review as well as TRC. So the board has had concerns concerning what uses could be there, what could happen in the future, right? So here we have a mixed-use complex. I think Rhode Island law states that a decision based upon, you know, what could happen in the future can be found to be arbitrary. In this situation, I want to discuss with the board the backstops the town has when it comes to this project, when it comes to possible uses that could happen down the road. For instance, when you have a change of use where the intensity increases, that triggers planning board review, and a tenant or, you know, future property owner would have to be before the board then. So that's one thing. Parking, there's approximately 60 parking spaces, and I have with me Lynn Small from Northeast Engineering that can speak to the site plans, the technical aspects of this project. But there is a limitation when it comes to parking. There would also be a limitation when it comes to on-site waste disposal. Moreover, there's also a backstop when it comes to Rhode Island DEM and permitting, which is currently in progress, and there already is a Rhode Island DEM permit approved for this location. Moreover, when you go to apply for a building permit, right, you have town backstops there as well. You have building and you have fire. So even when you apply for it, if you look at the portal, if you've ever glanced through what the application process is for a building permit itself, you have building inspections, you have fire inspections. So when it comes to public safety, all those things and the uses are submitted therewith with a building permit itself. So I know that was a concern regarding use, and I wanted to remind the town of the backstops the town does have when it comes to ensuring compliance with the zoning code, as well as the building officials' ability to ensure zoning as well. Moreover, there was something brought up regarding the watershed for this property. Solicitor Romano brought that to our attention prior to the last meeting. That was continued to today. With that, and I have actually, I printed up pictures from the plan. Let's see. So there was a link that was sent that regarded a watershed that exists in this area. All right. And if I may, I brought copies of this for the board members. May I approach? All right. So this is a map and excerpt from a report provided to the city of Fall River, Massachusetts regarding the South Wichita Pond watershed. All right. So if you look at the plan, the far on this piece of paper, the far left and further south of that, this is where my client's property is located. Okay, which would be the Sucker Brook watershed. Now, when I reached out to Attorney Solicitor Romano regarding this, we looked through the GIS maps for the town of Tiverton, which this watershed district is not listed in the GIS records. It is. Yeah. So it is located in the watershed. Yeah. So it's just on the southern border of it. All right. But with that, the GIS records, they do not display this watershed. Nothing in the town of Tiverton's ordinances, bylaws, regulations, or comprehensive plan speak to this watershed. Only the Stafford Pond and the other watershed that I'm blanking on the name right now. But this watershed is not within the purview of the town of Tiverton. The report that was provided was a report provided for the city of Fall River, Massachusetts, which is an entirely different state and an entirely different city than the town of Tiverton. Nonetheless, my firm's position is that the town of Tiverton itself does not have the the authority to make a decision based upon or regulations or conditions upon this watershed. But at a maximum, this might be something for the Rhode Island DEM, which the engineers for the applicant are working with Rhode Island DEM to address if this is an issue or not. Moreover, there was a question regarding the Sin and Flesh Brook. That is not located on the property at all in its entirety. It's further south of the property. And then there was another question that was brought up regarding, and this ties into two waiver requests of a few that were provided to the board. Two of them being the Phase 1 and Phase 2 ESA reports. Okay. So when it comes to that, this property was, for all intents and purposes, virgin land, wooded land, prior to my client's purchase of the property. So all work that's been done on it has been done pursuant to the permitting for the storage yard that's there. Prior to that, it was vacant land. It would appear to be unnecessary to have a Phase 1 conducted, which one is timely and costly, and practically not necessary for this project here. Just give me 1 second. I've lost my my spot. Bear with me. And then as well, I have copies that I wanted to provide to the board. Bless you. Regarding what's been submitted with this application. So this application is both combined master and preliminary. With that, there were several items submitted to the application and some following TRC. So at the concept plan meeting, the board requested or is moving for a traffic study. We objected to that and requested a waiver from providing a traffic study and came to an agreement to do a traffic analysis, which I do have Herman Peralta here from Parkour. But I would like to, and which was submitted, but if I may, I have a list of the documents that were provided to the town. The reason why I'm providing this list is just because there's two applications at the same time. There was numerous documents uploaded for both applications in the portal and provided to the board. When the peer review was conducted, they cited missing documents such as a landscape plan, lighting plan, and so those things were submitted, but for clarity, I just wanted to provide a list of the documents provided to the town. And then, if the board doesn't have any further questions for me, I'll hand it over to Herman Peralta from Parkour to discuss traffic.
Yes, I'm sorry. Raise your right hand, sir. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you shall give to this board in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, and that this is your solemn affirmation?
I do. Okay. Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the board. For the record, Herman Peralta with Park Corporation. I've got 20 years of experience in transportation engineering, more specifically in traffic. I'm a registered professional engineer in multiple New England states, including Rhode Island. So PAR had completed traffic.
Sir,
Yep.
Testified before this board before?
Yes.
You have?
Yeah, I have.
Which project?
Actually, the project previous to is when it was a different use.
Okay.
4 or 5 years ago.
Okay. Does Mr. Akers have your CV?
I believe he does. If not, we can.
I don't have a copy of it on me, but I can get
Email
one
it?
to you. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. So going back, so PAR had completed a traffic safety assessment for the proposed development at 222 Eagleville Road, located just west of the Route 24 bridges. Eagleville Road is classified as a collector road, generally running in an east-west orientation under town jurisdiction. Land use along Eagleville Road can be described as predominantly undeveloped land, servicing a few homes, including a few industrial properties. So as part of the traffic study, PAR had evaluated the proposed site driveway intersection on Eagleville Road related to safety and efficiency. This effort included field inventory of the existing conditions within the study area, including measurement of site distance at the proposed site driveway intersection, as well as obtaining crash data from the local police department along Eagleville Road. In respect to safety, we had analyzed the crash history within the study area and concluded that there are no significant traffic-related issues within the study area that warrant mitigation. In fact, there was only one crash reported along Eagleville Road in the last 3 years, including at its intersection with Stafford Road to the east and Fish Road to the west. Also, as part of the safety analysis, as I had previously mentioned, we measured the site distance at the proposed site driveway intersection and determined that it exceeds the minimum requirements of the site distance to allow for safe access. In terms of operations and efficiency, Eagleville Road services low volume of traffic. When combined with the relatively low volume of traffic expected to be generated by the proposed development, the project will have minimal operational impacts to the surrounding roadway network. The proposed development is anticipated to generate approximately 35 peak hour trips, which is the most intensive use scenario. Just to put that number in perspective, that's about one vehicle entering or exiting the site every 2 minutes. To further put more in perspective to that number, I know Eagleville Road is not under RIDOT jurisdiction, but if it was, RIDOT would not even require a traffic study, given the relatively low volume of traffic that's anticipated for the proposed development. So RIDOT has a threshold that triggers a traffic study, which is about anything over 100 peak hour trips, which is nearly 3 times the traffic expected for these proposed development. So in summary, based on the traffic study that was done for this development, the project will have safe and adequate access to the adjacent roadway system. So that kind of concludes my brief presentation of the traffic study. I'm more than, glad to answer any questions that the board may have.
On that side, does anyone have any questions?
No, I really like to just get that application approved.
Can you turn the mic on?
Yeah, I just want to get the application approved, so whatever we can do to move this on.
Does anyone else have any comments for the traffic? What's that? Anything from the planning office? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next witness?
Next witness is Lynn Small.
Ms. Small, raise your right hand, please. Do you
Yes.
swear or affirm that the testimony you shall give to this board in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, and that this is your solemn affirmation?
I do.
Thank you.
Lynn Small, Northeast Engineers, 6 Valley Road, Middletown. I've testified in front of this board a number of times and been accepted as an expert previously. Okay. Thank you.
Including this project.
Including this project, phase 1. So the project was obviously previously permitted through this board for phase 1, which was basically a materials yard, and now we're proposing an 18,000 square foot tradesman center building towards the front of the property, closer to Eagleville Road. We have the proposed building is surrounded by asphalt to provide up to 60 parking spaces, as demonstrated on the site plan. We include, in this area will be paved and suitable for fire access and large vehicles. We even, after the TRC, prepared a radius map that demonstrated how those 2 trucks could actually pass right at the entrance, where they wouldn't go off the side of the entrance driveway as you enter and exit the site. So you'd be able to have 2 trucks passing right at the entrance if you needed to. And we did submit that following the TRC to the fire department. That was their only question on that matter. because we have an elevated water table, we do have drainage systems that are subsurface but lined. We have a series of catch basins within the parking area, which will collect the stormwater, bring it to the north side of the site, or the north side of the building. I'm not that coordinated. I should bring my cat toy. But, so it goes to the north side of the building where we have, in each of those catch basins has a sump to help collect some sediment, and then it will go to a sand filter and then a detention basin. These will overflow into the property before they drain non-erosively towards the wetland areas. Towards the north end of the site, we have, most of this was previously part of the original project, is a second drainage feature, which includes a stone forebay, a lined sand filter, and then another detention basin that drains towards that northernmost wetland feature. The site has no public utilities other than electricity, so we will have a septic system on the property. We did do test holes, and we have protected them through the duration of construction of phase one, because we didn't want that area to get compacted to compromise the future integrity of the septic system. So we have protected that area. And we're working on the septic system permit now. But I do not have any variances associated with that, so I don't expect any issues with the DEM permitting in that regard. It will be a low flow type system. This use is dependent on employees only. So it's basically 15 gallons per day per person for a bathroom use. You know, we don't expect people to actually stay in the building all day long, so you probably get a lot less use than what we're designing for. And we do have a well proposed for the building for domestic water. That basically summarizes the civil for the property. We did go to DEM and get a permit for freshwater wetlands and RIPTs, because over an acre. So we do have that, and we will be working with them regarding the watershed question to see if they have any comment in that regard.
Any further questions for Ms. Small?
Planning office?
Yeah, I do have a question. Lynn, could you send the fire department memo and ECC revision C6 over to us?
I believe those were submitted in the portal.
They're on the portal, but we don't have them in hard copy.
Hard copy?
Yeah.
Yeah, no problem.
Yep, okay.
I believe that would be all from me this time, unless anybody has any questions, of course.
Any other general questions?
Yeah, just, obviously, I think all the uses within the Tradesman Center are permitted uses, but because we don't have a definition for Tradesman Center, would you mind just sort of providing a general definition of what that is and how that operates for some of the people here in the board that don't understand what that is?
Yes, so, I mean, overall, a mixed-use complex less than 20,000 feet, 20,000 square feet. However, the intent is a tradesman center. So I grew up in a construction background. My father had a shop in the San Fernando Valley, and it was a building that was probably around the same size, that had maybe 5 or 6 units, that had garage doors that opened up all the way. And so I grew up in a fire protection company. So pipe fitting, there was offices in there as well to draft plans, conduct bids, all of those things. And there was a few different other construction-related companies operating out of that same building. And that's precisely what this is here, what the intent is here. So, for instance, you might have one of the bays have a plumber, one of them being an electrician, one of them being perhaps a mason. So you'd have a place where you can pull your truck in, you can store some of your materials that you're doing for your day-to-day operations, and at the same time have office space to draft plans, submit bids, make phone calls, and in all your, office and administrative needs, as well as my client, my operated portion of this building as well, for their construction company that they have. So that would be the intent of this, to simply put, would be more of a commercial construction warehouse or building, whatever you may have it.
Thank you.
Could you briefly review the request for waivers that you have for this project?
Yes. All right. So the first waiver, which was denied, was for the traffic study. As you can tell, we had a traffic analysis conducted and submitted to the board. The other second and third waivers would be for the Phase 1 and Phase 2 ESA reports, based upon the land being vacant and wooded prior to our client's purchase of it back in 2021. And the GIS maps also corroborate that, as well as Google historical aerial imagery. The property was vacant land, it was untouched, it wasn't a dumping ground. So the nature of the property in and of itself, the only use of it is what my client has made. So Phase 1 and Phase 2 would appear to be unnecessary for this project. And that's why those requests were submitted. Then there's also a waiver request from the fire department. Yep.
Do you want to have a discussion about that?
I agree with, we want to expedite this and we want to get, businesses up and running as quickly as we can. I do have some concerns about any environmental waivers, however. You've only owned the property since, I think it was 2021 or 2022. Eagleville Road is one of those roads known in town as being a dumping ground. So even if it was vacant, Eagleville Road and Brayton Road are the top two roads in Tiverton that are known dumping sites. Brayton Road has an EPA Superfund site. We just want to make sure we're doing the right thing. And if the land was vacant, even more so. It's one of those areas that's always on the Tiverton cleanup area. Again, it's just a known dumping ground, so we want to make sure environmentally that we're doing the right thing and the safe thing for the residents and for the people.
Well, for start, typically when you have a Phase 1 report, it's when you're purchasing a commercial property, right? So when you do that transaction, if there's things like, say it was a paving company that was there prior, or the biggest example, a laundromat, a Phase 1 is usually done, and it's usually something that's provided in the due diligence process. Here, there was none required, none provided in the purchase of this property, as there was no issues with, and if I may, I can have a sidebar with my client regarding this.
Sure, and I'm sorry. I just want to say with this, we'll be relying on our planning office and our planning consultants, Weston and Sampson, to give us their best recommendation on it for the board. We just feel we want to do the right thing environmentally. We'll ask for a recommendation on what is needed. Not saying a full, scope EPA review, but we just want to make sure that we're safe in doing it and we're providing the best recommendation.
Understood. Yeah.
Nothing. I know that area very well. I spent a lot of time there. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've hunted up there. My buddy had a tree lot up in there, and I've done a lot back there. It's just clean land. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And just a point to make when speaking with my clients, the predominant property is predominantly ledge. So that's another aspect of it as well. So it wasn't really a site where you could dig up and bury things, as I've heard, in other backwoods. So that's just another thing I'd like to note.
That's a plus. We just want to get advice from our experts, recommending what we should do.
No,
We don't want
understandable.
to accept any liability that we don't have to, but we want to make this process as quick as easy as we can.
Understood. And then when it comes to the other waiver was the Rhode Island DEM OWTS, which I believe Ms. Small discussed earlier, that we're in the process with them in that permitting.
As to the
Yes.
OWTS waiver, I would advise this board to grant that one,
Yeah.
because you can't require that permit until final plan approval per the statutes anyways.
And we're all set to make that decision. Do we do that tonight?
You don't have to do that one tonight, but
Okay.
Understood.
the consensus will be to grant that waiver.
Thank you, Solicitor. And then the last waiver that was submitted was the fire department confirmation on water adequacy. We've reached out to the fire department to discuss this. As noted earlier in this meeting, there is no water on the property as of now. There's no water or sewer. There is a proposed well. So there is, at this time, no water for the fire department to even confirm whether it's adequate or not. But when it comes to the fire department, when it comes to a building permit, it would be the fire department to say when it comes to inspecting for safety and water adequacy in order to even get a CO.
Sure.
Sorry. Do you intend to fence the frontage of the property? A gate, there's a gate there now, but will that be improved?
So here's a rendering for you. I have a couple renderings.
Yeah. On Eagleville.
On Eagleville. Let me double. Lynn, is there a proposed fencing? No, there's
Do
not
you have a
proposed.
watchman there or something? You don't?
I don't believe in this area there's going to be a need for a security guard. It's not something that's come
I
up.
was riding around in there, so I just wanted to make sure.
Well, I'm pretty sure, I've spoken to my applicant, or my client, and they know you've been around there, and we're happy to see you.
They were very nice. Well, one person.
Well, that's better than none.
Continue it for decision.
Okay. At this point, we'll entertain a motion.
You know what, actually,
to-
take that back.
Okay.
We need to make some decisions about the waiver requests, so the applicant knows whether they need to present those to you.
Okay.
So I would suggest that you first take a vote on the waiver request for the OWTS permit.
Okay. So that is the one that Mr. Romano has recommended. That does not need to be done at this point. So make a motion to,
Grant the waiver request and
Grant.
require the permit at final plan.
So moved. Do we have a second? Okay. All those in favor? Okay, it's unanimous.
The next easiest one, in my opinion, is the fire department one.
Yeah.
Make a motion.
Okay, so let me see what we have.
I don't have that one. I only have these two.
The request is, hold on. The applicant has requested a waiver of checklist number 38 of the, right? And that is a determination letter from the fire department prior to master plan approval that the proposed water service has adequate volume and pressure to ensure public safety. Applicant has requested that waiver because they will be installing a well, and he explained it already. I don't need to do that again.
Okay, I'll make a motion to accept the waiver as written.
Do we have a second?
And require it. Yeah. No. Not required at final plan because they still won't have the,
Second.
Okay. Thank you, Adam. All those in favor? Did you?
Against.
All those against? Rosemary?
what's the vote?
4 to 1.
4 to 1.
Thank you. 4 in favor, 1 opposed.
Yes. Okay. Next waiver?
Last one is the ESA, is that correct, Mr.?
Yeah, the yes. So traffic had already
Traffic
been
is-
discussed, addressed,
Yeah, we're good
and
with
provided. So then that would leave us with the ESA reports, Phase 1 and Phase 2 ESA reports.
And I'm just going to say I am not comfortable with waiving that at this point. I'd like a recommendation from our planning office and from Weston and Sampson before we make a decision on that.
Ms. Sweet?
Are you looking for a recommendation from an engineering perspective or from a planning perspective? Because I think those are two different things. And
More from an engineering perspective, for environmental, just a recommendation of what the board should do to be
Okay.
safe.
so I don't think that that's been put in front of the engineers to review or to ask that question, and I can't speak on their behalf. I'd have to explain the situation. I mean, I spoke with them in general about a phase 1 and a phase 2 and the difference between those two things. But it was not put to them specifically whether they had a recommendation for this particular project related to whether a phase 1 should be conducted or should be waived. I can certainly bring that to them and provide you with an answer, but I don't have it today.
Especially with the new information that there's mostly ledge. I think you stepped out, but the property is mostly ledge.
Okay, I'm sure that would probably factor into their consideration.
Should we forward this one to next meeting?
You can continue Eagleville to June 16th if you wanted to for the purpose of the ESA waiver, right?
Or could that be a condition for final,
Is that the last thing?
if it's recommended?
It could be if the board wanted to.
I think that's fine.
I think that's the last thing left, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the last thing left, we're gonna get a condition, sure.
I think that's fine.
Okay.
Okay. Could I have a motion to continue?
Well, wait a minute.
Let's think this out.
Mr. Raposa is suggesting that the ESA, if be required at final plan. Is that correct, Adam?
No, I thought we were trying to approve the waiver and just have it done by final plan. Like, let them move forward without, jump through the hoops that they would have to do this waiver.
Right. So you would
If
still
it's-
require phase 1 ESA at final plan application.
And I'm just going to
If-
revise that
if
with,
it's,
No, I'd rather they wouldn't have to do that.
Okay.
so,
I'm going to recommend that we have whatever environmental study is recommended by Weston and Sampson engineers. They can recommend that it's not needed at all, or just a few of the steps that are needed. We don't want to put anything extra on the applicant, but I'd like an engineer to tell us what is needed. So that's all I'm saying. It may not be the full EPA. It may just be nothing is needed. But I'd like a recommendation to the board without delaying the project, without delaying the applicant.
I only want to just put on the record I don't know that it's that easy to just look at the reason for an ESA, a phase 1 would be that there is some history, or there is a potential of history, and I don't know that they can evaluate that from an engineering perspective without doing some digging. And we discussed that if phase 1 is somewhat of it's like a desktop analysis. There is my understanding, and maybe I'm wrong, and an engineer can correct me, but that it's sort of a desktop analysis. It looks at site history, it looks at land evidence records, and it looks for reasons why a phase 2 might be beneficial. And then at a phase 2 stage is when there is a more in-depth testing and all of the other things that go along with that to actually verify contamination issues. I just wouldn't want to promise you that the engineers will be able to look at a set of site plans and say, like, yes, this qualifies for an ESA, or it doesn't. It's not based on, it's based on a lot of history, and they won't have that in front of them to make that analysis. We can do that research, but then we're doing it on behalf of the applicant. And we talked about the idea that maybe some halfway in between is not a full-blown phase one, but is some kind of desktop assessment that gives you site history that does look at the land evidence records. I think that could be done relatively easily. That would give you some kind of parameters of understanding if this was a location where dumping could have happened.
If I may speak, I
But just because it was empty doesn't mean that you couldn't look back at historical photographs. I mean, there's aerial photographs going back decades that could be looked at as to whether the site was ever used previously, stuff dumped there, it grew back over. I think the problem is that this owner has only owned it for, a handful of years, and it's everything that happened before, potentially that could have happened before that the board is looking for some assurances that there's been some level of investigation into that, and there's nothing that presents itself that says that it warrants further review. And I can't promise you that the engineers can give you that just by looking at the site plans.
If I may speak for 1 second, I did go to school for environmental engineering, and I did work in that field for a few years before I transferred over to civil and land development, just because I found it more interesting. But there are different stages of environmental assessments. You can do, the phase one is exactly as she's explaining, where you do full-blown research of all the history of the property, aerial photographs, etc. Phase two is if during that phase one study you find a recognized environmental condition that you may have areas where, like it was a gas station, and you want to do some exploratory digging where you do soils testing and maybe put in groundwater monitoring wells. And we do these studies for bank transactions because the bank doesn't want to own a property that's going to have an environmental problem. When there's a development that there's unlikely any environmental condition, they do an environmental screening, which I think might be something that the board might find satisfactory, which is a little bit less than a full-blown phase one, but it does give you some assurances that the property is clean and that there's no trigger that an environmental engineering firm recognizes. And this is a lesser expensive, quicker review that can give you some assurances that the property is in fact clean. Maybe that might be something we could provide for you.
Yeah, I would say that's sort of the middle
exactly what we
ground
talked
that
about.
we had discussed, that
Yes.
we don't trigger a full ESA at this point. We don't have any necessarily have any reason to, but that the applicant could provide a site history that goes back further than their ownership and looks at historical records to see if there's anything that comes up as a red flag that would then further warrant. And certainly Weston and Sampson engineers can review any documents that are provided.
I'm so sorry. I'm so glad I didn't hit anyone. Holy moly.
If we could ask if you could get that information to our planning office and to Ms. Sweet, Weston and Sampson. Ed can provide you whatever emails or contact information. And at that point, if Weston and Sampson and our planning office can provide the recommendation to the board, I'd like to recommend that we continue this to the 16th.
How long do you think an environmental screening would take?
Is that not something we can get an approval and have that as a condition of the final? Because I don't think the screening's going to reveal any situation. We're pretty confident that the property was never occupied before.
Good, so how long will it take?
They're usually a couple weeks after you get someone to do them.
So for July 7th then?
So for July 7th.
We're not going to change any of the site plans.
If you're inclined to only require an environmental screening, assuming it shows that no further study is required, then you can grant that waiver based on that, right?
So
And
she
then
would
continue the hearing to July 7th, because apparently they can have an environmental screening done in just a couple of weeks, which would still give you about 2 weeks before the July 7th meeting.
Well, why would
I
they?
can't think.
Why would they? Why would they need to come back is my
So that this
question.
board can make a decision on the master and preliminary plan
Oh, okay,
applications
okay.
with that information
All right.
about, from the environmental screening
Okay.
as part of that decision.
They'd still have to come back for that.
What else do we have to discuss as far as the master and preliminary plan, aside from that?
The fact that we want a solid decision made on both master and preliminary applications with correct findings of fact.
So we can't approve it now, going with the assumption that their screening is going to come back positively?
You could,
Yeah.
and you're not going to have a very good decision.
Okay.
So on finding of fact number 2, there will be no significant negative environmental impacts from the proposed development as shown on the plan. So we have to take that into consideration.
Okay.
So again, as to the waiver request of the ESA, you can grant a modified waiver. You can grant the request, but applicant shall submit an environmental screening. And should that environmental screening indicate that further study is required, you could require that further study.
As a condition before final?
No.
No? Okay.
And who decides if further information is needed or further study? We can have still Weston and Sampson in the planning office do that.
Well, I think that's the purpose of the environmental
Okay.
screening, is to tell you whether further study is required, right?
Right.
The Weston and Sampson will review the environmental screening.
Right, that's what I
to make sure it
want.
was done properly, right? And it's not just a sham, and I'm not suggesting you would do that, Ms. Small. Right?
We just have to have some protection here.
I might hate you.
Give a
I have another piece.
Okay.
In July.
Give a recommendation, he'll make the motion.
All right, so my recommended motion is, 1, you grant the waiver request as to the ESA, but in lieu of the ESA, you require an environmental screening. And should that environmental screening call for further study, that further study be conducted. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And I'll make that motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay.
Okay.
Second motion I would recommend is continuing this hearing to July 7th, hopefully for decision on master and preliminary plan applications. Obviously, it's contingent on
Right.
receipt of the environmental screening timely. Make sense?
Yes.
So the motion is to continue to July 7.
Do we have a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to continue, but time
We do. Thank you, Rosemary.
Okay. So
Mr.
can the-
Akers, any objection to extending the time clock to, I'm going to call it July 30th?
No objection.
Thank you. So,
You made
so the
it.
motion should be to continue to July 7 and extend the time clock to July 30.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, thank you. All those in favor? Okay, unanimous.
Understand, Mr. Akers, what's going on?
Yes.
Good.
Thank you.
That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, where are we? We skipped number 3. We skipped number 4. Right, so we're on 5?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to continue the meeting with item number 5, Major Land Development Comprehensive Permit Application. This is 1588 Boogamosh Road, Plat 215, Lot 113 and 118, north side of Boogamosh Road. Project name is Crandall Commons in an R120 district, and Attorney Landry is back. Thank you.
Good evening again, Madam Chair, members of the board, Attorney Matthew Landry on behalf of the applicant, Tiverton Investments LLC. To my left is a representative of the applicant, Mark DeMello, and at the podium is Seth Lemoyne from Principe Engineering, the civil engineer on the project. The purpose of this meeting really is to give an overview and background on the property and what's being proposed. I think this is the first opportunity the board has had to review this. We did have a TRC meeting a few weeks ago. We haven't had a whole lot of time to address all of those comments, but I just wanted to note that Seth will be going through the site plans that are before you, but they have been slightly revised We did provide a set of revised plans to the board just recently. They may not be in front of you, and we're aware of that, but the issue is with addressing the TRC comments that we just had within the last 2 weeks. So we do have copies of those. They're very minor changes. They're not substantive changes, but we'll note those for the record, and going forward, we'll ensure that you have the full and up-to-date plan set. So I apologize for that, but it's largely based on the timing between the TRC and this first meeting, and we're aware of that, but I just wanted to note that for the record. So starting from the top, this is at 1588 Bulgamarsh Road. You are probably familiar with the property. There's actually an existing, or two existing residences on the property. There's an existing duplex, and it's part of the Crandall Commons Homeowners Association. It is an established condominium that was approved a few years back. Mr. DeMello had developed the property, and part of the HOA documents included future development rights for the declarant, which was Mr. DeMello, for an additional 20 to 30 units in the back of Lot 118. So there was always an intent to further develop this site. That's quite a bit of units on this fairly constrained lot, which is very narrow, approximately 9 acres. If you count Lot 118 that's in the rear, that's consumed entirely by wetlands. We're intending to incorporate Lot 118 for purposes of open space calculations, and we can get through that. But a high-level overview here, this is coming before you as a comprehensive permit application under the Act, which I know you're all very familiar with, and the standards that go along with that. We did submit a letter of eligibility, supplemented the package with that. We did not have that originally and asked for a waiver for prior to master plan approval, but that is in the package now. I just wanted everyone to be aware that Rhode Island Housing did issue an LOE for this. One of the questions that came up at TRC was how the LMI units were calculated. Of course, it's a minimum of 25% LMI units that's required under the Act. Rhode Island Housing, I've had a few of these projects where there's existing development on a site and you're adding new units that incorporate LMI units under the Act, and the ratio of the 25% is based on the new units that are being proposed. So there's 12 new units being proposed in addition to the 2 that are already there, and the 25% is calculated based on the 12 units that are being proposed. That's fully acceptable and legally permissible by Rhode Island Housing, and that's how that the 3 LMI units that are proposed were calculated. So I just wanted to make that clear, because it's a little bit of a different situation where there's existing units on site. We do have full consent from the 2 unit owners to the extent that that is necessary, as well as the HOA, and those consents are also as part of the package. This is now an R120 zoning district, so the relief that we're requesting under the comprehensive permit mechanism are related mostly to the density, multifamily housing, sewer connections, all of the regulations that go along with the conservation development ordinance. As you know, the Act has its own standards and findings of fact, and in the interest of providing much needed LMI housing for the town, which as of 25 was at 6%, you weigh the interest with local regulations and the need for affordable housing, as you know. So we're under a little bit of a different standard of review. And most of the waivers relate to the multifamily structures that are being proposed, as well as the density, as I mentioned. As you know, under the Act, you're allowed to go up to a minimum of 3 units per acre if you provide at least water or municipal sewer. We're on public water, but we are proposing OWTS for the property. So under the 3 units an acre under the Act, this would allow far more density than what's being proposed at just 12 units. It would be upwards of over 20 units based upon the density allowed under the Act, and we're not maximizing that to any extent. We're really doing the minimum amount of units here that make this project feasible and appropriate in scale for the size of the lot. The setback requirements and the no-cut buffer, the relief from those are required because to situate any housing on this property, given the narrow width of the lot, to site the housing, the road improvements, and the stormwater services, as well as OWTS, make it extremely difficult and constrained to locate any of those services on the site. So those are the grounds for the relief, and we've outlined in detail a comprehensive plan analysis as part of our package and as is required with this submission. It goes through a number of provisions of the comprehensive plan that talk about the difference between what used to be allowed under the R30 and R60 zoning, mixture of housing types, multifamily housing, the need for affordable housing. Those are heavily detailed in the narrative. And with the zoning changes to R120 3-acre zoning, it really removed great opportunity for multifamily developments and LMI housing, given the sizable acreage that's now required for this lot included. So again, balancing the difference between the need for LMI housing, which the town is still deficient in, as are a number of other municipalities, and providing a modest market rate allocation in comparison to the LMI units that are being proposed, and is far less density than what the applicant could do by right under the act. As I mentioned, there are significant wetlands to the rear, but that will be merged with this lot for purposes of the open space calculations. And we've tried to be respective to the conservation ordinance in that regard. Seth can go through the calculations, but we believe we will meet the open space requirements. We're slightly under that, but until the systems are designed, stormwater systems and OWTS, it's hard to get a complete calculation there. But we're confident we'll be able to satisfy that requirement. I know that's an important waiver to the town and to the board, and we've done our best to maintain that on site and not ask for relief from that open space requirement. Again, just backing up, it's 12 new units being proposed. It'll be across 3 triplex buildings that'll go along the central pathway into the development. There'll be 1 duplex and 1 single-family unit to the rear of the property. The fire chief had some comments at the TRC over classifying this as a private driveway versus a street. We're addressing that, and that's one of the comments that Seth can address. We have no issue with that. I think the concern was that a private driveway is hard to identify in the event of emergencies and fire calls. So we've made those changes on the plan. And with that, I think I'm going to turn it over to Seth now, if we could swear Seth in, and he can go through some of the technical changes on the plans from the TRC, and then the overall site design that's before you.
Raise your right hand, sir. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you shall give to this board in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, and that this is your solemn affirmation?
I do.
Thank you.
Seth, just so I could qualify you quickly, how long have you been a licensed civil engineer?
I've been a licensed civil engineer for 18 years.
Okay, and what's your current occupation?
Civil engineer.
With what firm?
Principi Engineering.
Okay, and they're located here in town, correct?
Yeah, 27 Secana Ridge Drive.
Okay, do you have any experience testifying as an expert in the field of civil engineering before any municipal boards?
I do.
Could you just give a few examples of what boards?
South Kingstown, Smithfield, to name the most recent.
Okay, thank you. Have you testified in front of this board?
I have not, no.
Okay. Mr. Lemoyne, could you just take the board through the project site plans and address any changes that have been incorporated since the TRC hearing, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So the minor changes that were made were really to address the TRC comments, mostly related to the fire department. They had, fire department and planning had concerns with parking. We're proposing a 22-foot wide roadway with a teardrop. There we go. So proposing a private drive, paved private drive off of Bulgar Marsh Road. The road will be 22 feet wide, including 1-foot Cape Cod berms. It'll terminate in a teardrop cul-de-sac. The radiuses of those cul-de-sac have been adjusted to meet the fire department requirements for their largest emergency vehicle. Those were graciously provided to me. We also included some parking calculations to ensure the least potential for street parking during, say, an event at someone's unit. And I show calculations on there. Required calcs right now are 1.5 parking spaces per unit. I'm showing a minimum of 4 parking spaces per unit, 1 in a garage and at least 3 within a driveway. Additionally, the fire department had requested some hydrants to be located. Right now, I'm proposing 3 hydrants to be located, spaced approximately 250 to 300 feet apart, which will comply with NFPA standards. We have identified locations for our OWBTS and stormwater treatment areas. However, at this stage, those haven't been designed. We will be pursuing that as we move forward. Additionally, there is a Algonquin gas transmission easement that bisects the property, and we'll be crossing that easement with both the roadway and the water main. Those coordinations with the gas company have not started yet, but will be commencing here shortly. The grades are fairly mild. They generally slope from west to east or from bottom of the sheet to the top. Grades range anywhere from 4 to 5%. The roadway will be fairly flat with slopes of 2 to 3% as it kind of goes along the contour lines, not against them. We're not requesting any waivers from freshwater wetlands or setbacks. We're remaining outside of all those. Additionally, as Matt had mentioned earlier, we are including the lot in the rear for open space calculations, deducting obviously the wetland areas from there. And we will need a waiver, or requesting a waiver from the 75-foot no-cut buffer. I show that in a light dashed line throughout the property. It basically leaves a 75 or 70-foot swath of land down the center for development if we were to maintain that. We'll need a few waivers for setbacks as well, but really that is to the existing duplex that's in place now. All other buildings will be further away. Yeah, other than that, that kind of takes you through the general gist of the plan and what we're looking at.
Seth, just for the record, did the site as currently configured make it difficult to site the infrastructure improvements and required drainage and things of that nature?
Yeah, given the narrowness of the site, it's a very linear style development. Yeah, it's tight to fit all the infrastructure in there, particularly with the stormwater.
Okay, and you evaluated the wetland setbacks and buffer requirements, and can you confirm that there will be no relief requested from any of those setbacks or buffers?
Yeah, that's correct. No relief is going to be requested from the wetland buffer setbacks.
And I just wanted to note for the board as well that we did request a waiver to be submitted prior to master plan approval if the board were inclined to approve it. For a traffic supplement, we do intend to have a traffic summary provided in relation to this. This is, as I noted, that has an existing duplex. It's a fairly modest development, but I just wanted to know we're aware of that and we'll be supplementing the package to include that. The other part of this as well is with the change in state law that now allows the master plan as an option, they brought it back after taking it away for a short time. We thought this would be a good opportunity to come and have this dialogue with both the TRC and the planning board, given this is the first instance. We didn't have a pre-application with the planning board. We're cognizant of development in town, particularly in this area of town, and we wanted to solicit that feedback from the board and again, emphasize the fact that there are far greater densities allowed for this property under the Act, and the client is proceeding in a manner that includes far less density and a good ratio of market rate to LMI units, and is mindful of the relief that's being requested. But at this time, I would just reserve additional testimony to supplement the record at a later date, but we're happy to solicit any feedback and comments from the board and open it up to any questions or any additional information that the board may wish to see at a future hearing.
We did have a few questions. One, could you just clarify, you're asking for a waiver for the 75-foot buffer. What are you reducing it to?
At this time, we can reduce that to approximately 12 feet. We need to provide some distance from the back of the building to a no-cut zone for fire protection. So right now, the buildings are approximately along the western property line, approximately 43 feet from the property line. And on the eastern property line, the one single family is proposed at 25 feet.
So instead of 75 feet, you're dropping it down to
We'd be requesting down to 12.
12? Okay.
Seth, is that just on the western side?
That's going to be, well, it's going to be mostly on the western side for pretty much the length of that lot. However, on the eastern side, we would need to reduce that as we get by the building and the cul-de-sac area. And as we get towards where the drainage is going to be located, I'll keep the drainage as close as I can to the road, and that buffer will be able to be increased greater than 12.
And Seth, just to confirm, the 75-foot no-cut buffer is represented by a dashed line on the plan, is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
All right. Would it be possible to locate the structures and infrastructure improvements, OWTS, all of those systems without violating that 75-foot no-cut buffer?
No, it would not be possible.
Open it up to other questions from the board members.
The picture depicted on, that you gave us, it looks like it's pretty steep grade there, and it's very hard to read the plans here because it's small. And even with my glasses, I cannot see the grade. I mean,
I get it, trust me.
I can't see. I'm looking at the grade here, and there's a lot of grade lines here. and-
On the site plan?
Yeah, it's too small. It's
I can address
one
it.
font or something.
I can address those.
I can't
It
read
looks
it
like
either.
something out of a mini golf place. You hit the ball and it rolls a mile away.
On the narrow section of the lot, as you get towards the rear, the property slopes from the west to the east, or from the bottom of the sheet to the top of the sheet. These are 1 foot these are 2 foot contours. The contours range from 212 down to 200, so it's 12 feet over approximately 230 feet.
12 feet, okay.
It brings you to about 6%.
And so the end of the cul-de-sac, that's where the wetlands is, probably because all the water runs down
Beyond
there?
that, so there's two different wetlands complex. There's a small little wetland complex that's less than 1 acre, but on this site, it's only 0.04%, or 0.4 acres on this property, down at the southeast corner where it meets Bulger Marsh.
Is that because the water runs down that lot? And that's
I think
steep
it's
slope?
just the natural grade collects in that area. It's a little bit of a low. Yeah, it's this is the runoff from the road.
No,
And
I'm
then-
talking about where the houses are gonna go, that big grade going down from the two houses up there. You go down the road, even the road shows to be twisted. So the picture I see there, it looks like there's a lot of grade, and I can see that I just can't read what it says. You said 12 feet. So there's a 12-foot drop between the two houses there and the houses that are depicted in the thing. And if it only stands to reason, if the wetlands are at the end of that, probably there's a lot of water running down that hill.
That watershed runs a different direction. There's a bit of a break line at the top of that hill.
Okay.
And
like I said, I just can't read it and it's too small.
yeah, understood.
I didn't know if we
My
had
apologies
one
on
yet.
that. Basically where the cul-de-sac is,
Like the water runs towards like the northeast of it,
Yeah.
roughly in the direction of that single family.
it does. So where the teardrop cul-de-sac is shown is approximately where the break line of the lot is. From
And then it
the-
gets pretty rough, the grade right there, right
it-
behind that.
It drops off behind that. Again, about a 6% grade.
Yeah, but I'm talking about right behind the two properties up front, the two
two
houses.
properties?
Yes, the two duplexes. Right behind that, the picture just depicts that curved area. And in the actual picture, the rendering you gave us shows it, like I said, it looks like a mini golf place. I mean, it looks like it's a drop, a big drop. Even the rendering size of the houses is so much smaller in aspect because it's trying to show that it's below. Yeah, that's the one.
That one.
I mean, it's not necessarily to scale. I mean, this is just a conceptual rendering to
It's a lot.
to just give you an idea, but, Seth can comment on the grade change.
Yeah, the steepest slopes in the site are actually where the existing duplex is.
That's what I mean, but it
Yeah,
looks like it's,
Feet between the existing and the new?
Have you considered a golf course?
Uh,
Have we considered a 9-hole golf course?
No, we're looking at 46 feet,
Open space at the front.
Yeah,
46 and a half.
yeah.
224 to
Oh, I'm talking about the horizontal distance. Yeah, so yeah, 216 for elevation wise, 216 to
Right here.
212.
Right at
So
the
it's
top.
4 foot.
I see 206.
I see that
224.
it's 18 feet.
Oh, from the edge of the property, yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're not looking to alter that grade at all. That's existing, and that's staying the way it is.
Alan is concerned about the overall grade between the existing home and
Two
the new
homes.
Yeah.
Down to, you're showing an aspect here of looking down the road, and even in your rendering, it shows the houses really tiny. Like you're looking down a hill at something. I'm just asking if this is accurate. This rendering here, the picture.
The rendering, no, the rendering did not take account the actual grades
Okay,
accurately.
but it looks like just a big waterfall.
Yeah,
in the picture.
no, it's not. The road going up is going to be fairly flat, a very
Right.
small grade going up. The houses on the left are going to be above the road, and then the house at the end is going to be about grade, and it's going to drop off behind that house at the end.
Yeah, so what's the difference between where the two houses are up front and the last house on the row of houses?
So the houses in the front, the proposed duplex on the front along Bulga Marsh is going to be approximately 212, and the house at the rear is going to be at approximately 204.
So 8 feet difference?
Yes.
Nothing different in the middle? Is it just gradually going down, or is there's a drop in the middle too?
No, in the middle, it's going to be, it goes up a little bit in the middle. Well, I say 212 again in the middle. So as the property slopes like this, the road's going to go kind of along that slope. Houses up here, and a house at the end.
Okay. And the people in the front don't think there's a disparity between the look of the two houses with yards, and in the back having 12 put right on each other?
I can't speak to that.
Yeah. It doesn't look right. Because of the lot being long, it just doesn't look good to the eye. Just the density, yeah. You have so much property in the front and the 4 units up front, and in the back we have just 12 units on top of each other.
Yeah, the gas easement is a big cause of that.
Could make it a 9-hole golf course.
Nothing at this time.
Ashley, any questions? Ed?
Matt, are you going to merge the two lots, the 108? Yes. That's going to be part of the final plan?
Yeah, so there is a line indicated on these plans that shows where the lot line will be extinguished, and for purposes of open space calculations, they'll be singular.
Okay. And could you just clarify an item for me? It's on page 3 of the site information. It says, is the site located near public transit? It has a box checked yes. And it says, if yes, indicate the specific type and distance, and it says Stafford Road, Ripta.
It was
I'm
part
just-
of your application, I'm sorry, it was part of your application.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I wasn't sure.
For the letter of eligibility.
Page 3, number 12. Is there public transit near this development? Because I'm not aware of anything.
We can correct that. If that was an error, we certainly didn't mean to misrepresent that, but we can correct it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any questions from the public?
Good evening, Captain William Camara, 45 Indian Hill Road. This thing's on top of me like a cheap suit. The rendering here, if I could put it in a nutshell, and I really appreciate what Mr. Myers had said, this is like trying to pack 20 pounds of garbage in a 5-pound sack, okay? This development right here, okay? This is unscrupulous. We've lived on that road with all nice housing. Everyone's had a great community there, and now they want to put in 12 units behind one house, which is my house, right? With no setback off of my house. I'm literally walk out the back of my house, and there's going to be apartment complexes like I'm living in Fall River. Tiverton, if you look at it, is a town that's made of close-knit people with a community, all right? And I've been here a long time. ChatGPT, if I may quote them, says that Tiverton has one of the older populations than average, at around 50, and we have a high home ownership with above average to relatively high household income. And I'm proud of that. And that's what I live, that's why I picked to live there. The proposed construction calls for unreasonable, and I mean unreasonable, this is totally unreasonable, plan that would affect numerous individual homeowners, all right here, okay? And we're not going to put up with it, I can guarantee you. This is not quality living conditions. It's not quality living conditions, putting 12 families behind us with probably 4, I'm going to guess at least 12 cars. And I won't even, let's turn to trash and removal. We have to bring our trash and bins all the way to 177 Bulgamarsh, okay, from our house, as well as the Cottrells and everyone on that street. We bring it down and we police it. It doesn't look like a dump. It's not all tipped over and bins all over the place. We keep it nice and neat. You're going to have this private group of 12 families plus whatever bringing out a pile of cranberry garbage bags rolling down the hill towards us with bins, making us look like welfare. And that's not what we want, and that's not what we're going to put up with. We already have a flea market up there that sheds water all the way into us, where we have to have sump pumps constantly going because everything rolls down the hill towards us. You want to talk about grade. If you look at that rendition, it makes it look like that land is very wide. If I walk out my house, which is almost the whole length of my property, is where those 3 condo units, 12, are going to be, all right? I'm going to walk out of my front of my house, and there's my street. I'm going to walk out the back of my house, and there's this other road. This is absolutely pitiful, okay? I've had numerous people come to me over 20, 30 years trying to buy easements on my property to get to that so they can build. And what did we always say? My neighbors and I said they can't give us enough money to move that because they don't want to go over the pipeline, because we're surrounded by the pipeline. Trying to be respectful about this. It says in Proverbs that a fool gives full vent. I'm doing my best not to fully vent because a wise man quietly holds back. Amen. I'm holding back. All right. One of my friends lives in one of those condos up at the top. He has more property for 2 than they have for the 12. If you look, it doesn't show that in the way it is. The perspective that you're getting there is, it's very narrow, and I think the construction engineer made that. I'd love a site visit by this team before anything ever went. If it was going to be one house, something like that, reasonable. We're turning Tiverton into leftovers from Fall River and New Bedford. Do we want that? Hate to sound that way, but as a soldier, I'm not going to put up with it. Apologize for getting a little vented, but I think I held myself.
Any other residents that would like to speak on this, please?
Susan Anderson, you know where I am, Main Road in Osborne Bennett Historic District, but I am speaking on behalf of our church, because our church abuts this property. And the back of our church, where this property is a meditation, a reflection garden that we use for Easter sunrise services. All we see is our woods and our stone wall, which this thing abuts. We had to put up a fence in back of the flea market. Our property goes in back of the flea market. We had to put up a fence that cost us $10,000 because the flea market was dumping their trash, toilets, rugs, TVs, you name it, on our land. So before we put up the fence. We have a stone wall. We can't afford to put up a fence along that whole stone wall because of those people that are going to be living in there 30 feet from our property. We need to see the sun at Easter sunrise service through our leafless trees. We need to see the sun, not buildings. We won't be able to have the Easter sunrise service if, like we have it. We don't want these tall, how tall are these buildings? That's what I would like to know.
16 feet.
16 feet? That's still 16 feet too tall. Because we're going to see that through leafless trees in Easter. When the gas line was put in our property, it goes through our driveway. We have we don't have an asphalt driveway. It's all crushed clamshell. Okay, so it's, when that went in, there was a lot of boulders, a lot of rock. We have in the back of our property, we have the garden, and then we have the back of our property, and then we have a big, huge pile of the boulders that they took out of when they put the gas line in. How are they going to get the water past the gas line, through the gas line, without digging? I don't know where the gas line is. Is it above it? Is it below it? My point is, there's a lot of rock. And how are they going to get that gas line, the water through, or anything through, without taking out rock? There's a lot of rock. And I'm concerned because you can't blast. You don't dare blast with a gas line there. Our church has been there for over 130 years, long before this. We have a lot of people that try to get through our property, which they're not supposed to. We've had the cops come because they follow the gas line down, which is another reason why we put the fence up. But they just ride their bikes and then all of a sudden they can't go anywhere because of the fence. But the problem is the people, we have a stone wall, like I said, along where all those people are. We don't want trash coming from there across the stone wall. We don't want people coming from there across the stone wall, because we've had, we don't know, we have people that live in our woods. We've seen the results of that. And we cleaned that up this springtime, right? There was a tent there, there was all this trash there that somebody had left, and we didn't even know that they were back there because it's our reflection garden. So I'm concerned that the people from this are going to go over our stone wall, and they're going to do something to our property. And we don't want that. We don't want the trash, we don't want that. The other concern I have is lighting. The lighting from this. Are we going to be seeing lighting from from the exterior buildings on the west side through our woods, instead of trees, instead of the birds, we have orioles that live in the trees. The trash handled, well, he had touched on that. That's the other thing that we don't want. Screening, again, to keep the, not only trespassers, but any trash, anything coming from over a stone wall. I'd rather see screening than buildings, and evergreen screening, not deciduous, because we have deciduous, which is fine, because we see the sun for Easter. But we don't want buildings, we don't want to see anything other than nature for our church and our reflection garden. I can't think of anything else. You've touched on the water, I've touched on the water, the tall. I think that's about all that I needed to go. And the gas company, if they're going to give you permission to even put a water line through underneath their line or over their line, I don't know. That's just, it's confusing. Thank you.
Mrs. Van Hoff?
Sandra Van Hoff, 254 Fairwood Drive. I do not live on this, so I'm not speaking from that perspective. We've heard, or word is around, that there's some maybe Indian cemetery burial grounds there. I was hoping maybe one of the neighbors down there has looked into that. I don't know if it's something that the planning board could look into, or if one of the neighbors wants to address what they've been told over the years that they've lived there. But it's just something that I think we need to be concerned with and need to look at before a decision gets made.
Good evening, everyone. Gustavo Perez, 46 Indian Hill Road. In addition to what everybody else mentioned, my neighbor Bill, the church people, I come from a city background, and when I see plans like this, it reminds me of the city. And I specifically left the city to be in this area so that I can be in a more rural, open space, have that type of atmosphere in my living situation. But when these plans come about, it kind of like just brings me back to what I came from. And usually those plans don't turn out to be that well. But I would say that, like, Bill mentioned, we would love for the team to go back there and see it for yourself, because the space, it's just not enough. It's very narrow. There's hardly, it seems like you can't really do much there. But again, we would love for you guys to go back there, see it for yourselves, evaluate it, and see that it's really not a reasonable, good space for all these plannings to go. So I appreciate everybody's time and everybody's comments, and I hope you guys really take this into consideration and know that this is not an ideal situation for many of us in that neighborhood. So, thank you.
Thank you.
George Cottrell, 62 Indian Hill Road, and they were talking about the drainage. Well, where they're planning on putting that road in off of 177, there's probably a 6 or 7 foot drop, and there's a house, Spence house is right there. So that water off of that driveway is going to go down that drop and end up in his yard. And also, if we get a heavy rain, the gas line, the water actually bubbles out of the gas line, goes across the street. And then our house at the end is built in a hole. So if they plan on putting the drainage at the end, is that water going to end up running into our house?
They can't, excuse me, they cannot increase any additional water flow from their property to your property.
Oh, we can't?
They are not allowed to.
Well, let's hope not.
Well, the plan.
Because when we built our house, that our property was a hole. We built the house on top of the ground. And then we had to bring about 4,000 yards of fill in to get it to the level it is now.
Yeah,
And it's still only like 8 feet.
They cannot increase the runoff to your property, and the engineers from, the consulting engineers from the planning board will ensure that that is not going to occur.
And then what Mrs. Van Hoff was saying about the Indian, when my parents bought that property, there's a big boulder near our garage, just on Mr. DeMello's property. And supposedly it was a prayer rock. Whether it's true or not, I'm not sure, but that was the word. And I thank you.
Thank you. I think there was one other. Yeah.
A.J. Miranda from Captain Circle. I'd like to just address what Attorney Romano said. Said they can't do this and they can't do that based on the town ordinances. Well, it happened behind my house, and I brought it to the town council. And the town council and the town administrator ignored me. And then I took it to the municipal court. Attorney Romano knows
That's right,
well.
Mr. Miranda, and what happens?
And what happens?
It was dismissed, correct? Your complaint was dismissed.
Yeah, it was dismissed, and I appealed it. And I
it was
appealed
dismissed.
it in Providence, in Newport, and they said, you can't appeal this. So it's stacked against you. That's the point. Who ever heard of a court procedure that you can't appeal? I showed the town the 2 ordinances that they violated, my neighbor violated, and his friends from Fall River violated, and flooded my property. And every time it rains, my property floods.
Mr. Miranda, that's your opinion about that situation.
It's not my
which
opinion.
the town disagrees with. It is your opinion.
The court did not say that my property does not flood.
Okay, Mr. Miranda. Anything else?
That's all I'm saying. There's rules, but 10, 20 years later, it happens. And then when you complain about it, certain administrations, not this one, I'm very proud of this one's a lot better than the last one.
Thank you. I think you had a question.
Hello, my name is Robert Schaubs, Captain Circle. What developments like these do is they devalue people's homes by shoving, what the people have said, by shoving absolute nonsense where it doesn't belong. And every house near these developments, their value goes right down. And this developer's trying to make a habit of this. So I highly encourage this planning board to deny this and further ones for something way more reasonable. Because you can't pick people's pockets so you can fill up your own. And that's what's happening. Thank you.
Any other comments from residents?
Excuse me, Meredith Mucci, East Road. So with these comprehensive plans, I understand there's a lot of things that they can bypass regarding our density laws and our aesthetic laws or whatever rules. But if they don't follow the buffers and the like, do we have to grant them the right to develop if they are not following things like that, like our buffer rules around the no-mow and the proximity to the edge of the property and those types of rules?
I'll let our attorney answer.
They are allowed to request a waiver of those conservation development rules. We have to weigh that against the interest of the low and moderate income housing statute and bringing in low and moderate income housing per the state laws.
So
it's
we
not
have,
as easy as a yes or no, Ms. Mucci, is the answer.
all right. Anyway, I agree with basically everything everybody has already said, and I hope that we find a way to keep this type of development out of the town. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you want to respond to anything at this point?
If there's no further public comment, I would just, again, remind for the benefit of the public that this is the first stage in a very lengthy review process that will involve a number of public hearings. We're also going to have to go to the state DEM for a number of additional permits, including stormwater permits that, as Mr. Romano had correctly indicated, we are not allowed to increase the amount of stormwater discharge onto any other properties other than what already exists. We've got to treat it all on site and handle that and manage it. That will be subject to review by the town, its peer review engineers and planning staff, and it will certainly be heavily vetted and reviewed by the state Department of Environmental Management. So we are aware of that. The most troubling part, I think, for the public is that this is a concept review level stage, and we're not required to fully design these systems and provide all the engineering calculations at this stage. That comes at the next stage, the preliminary plan stage. And I know the board is aware of this. I just think it's important that the public understands the applicant is not trying to be dishonest or lack transparency in the process. We have submitted everything that is required to be submitted according to the master plan checklist, and we are fully aware that further engineering details are necessary as this project gets developed. So with that, we will attempt to supplement the application with the traffic details, as I indicated. We may also have additional testimony regarding some of the stormwater features and the environmental concerns that were raised by members of the public. By way of historic artifacts, Indian artifacts, we're not aware of any of those things, but that's something that the state will also look into as part of its review process. And the planning board will certainly have purview to review that if anything comes to light, but we're certainly not aware of it. At least a portion of the site has been developed. As for the gas easement, we will have to collaborate with them and get any access easements that we need to build this. It is an easement over my client's property, and we can coordinate with them on development of a water line. That's not unusual. It happens in a large number of cases. And obviously, in order for this development to go forward, we would need those approvals and have to submit proof of those permissions at some stage of the review, particularly the final plan stage. So with that, I would just reserve further testimony from either this team or additional experts at the next public hearing, particularly on traffic, and supplement any other information that this board may require before rendering a decision.
I have one question.
Go ahead.
Would it be possible for us to get full-size plans for
Of
the board?
course, absolutely.
Yeah,
Yep.
perfect, thank you.
And if
think
there's
showing
anything
the
additional, I'm
grade-
happy to provide it, but we will provide full-scale plans that make it easier to read, because I sympathize, they are difficult to read.
And I'm just going to add here, I think, just from listening to the residents, most of Tiverton, we choose to live here for a variety of reasons, but we like the rural atmosphere. And one thing that everyone wants to see is as much of a buffer as they can from one neighborhood to another. So anything that you can show us that would show the landscaping around there, or any type of view from the neighbors to your proposed development would be helpful for us to see.
I think a site walk would be good too.
Actually, thank you. We would like to request a site walk, if that's at all possible, coordinating it
Certainly,
through
we can
Ed.
certainly address that and look into that. In terms of the viewscapes, I understand that most of the lots, except for the church lot to the west, are undeveloped lots, and the church is at least 500 feet away from the property. And if there's ways that we can supplement the landscaping, the buffering to the extent possible, we can certainly evaluate that. There was a conscious effort to locate these more to the west as opposed to the east along the Indian Hill Road neighborhood for that reason. It provides greater separation from the larger developed areas in proximity to the site. So there was a conscious effort to do that, and if there are things that we can do to supplement or address the screening and the buffering and the elevation views and things, we will certainly look into that and try to address those.
I did have one thing. What's the target price of some of the condos? Is that something you've done in a feasibility study?
Do you know?
It'd be right around, I think around 525.
Per condo?
Right. And then the affordable ones would be down in the threes, whatever that number works out to, low threes.
I just want to reiterate some of the points. Obviously, the neighbors have come out and they were just. I want you guys to really go back, listen to what you've heard tonight. Think about the impact of these neighbors. This is an area where people have lived for a long time. They've made investments. They made investments based on what the zoning was at the time. What could get built in there, and typically, in the rules that we had prior to some of the changes by the state, they would have had an opportunity if we were changing the zoning. So now they're getting impacts that is not at all what they bought into, what they thought they were going to get. Just hang on. So I just want you guys, when you're looking at this entire thing, to look at those impacts, to look at what the proximity is to some of the neighborhoods, some of the neighbors, and what this entire development means, and try to be as sensitive as you can in terms of what you're building there, and think about the context of that neighborhood, not just what the state allows, because obviously the state allows a lot of latitude in these kinds of developments, but think about the overall context of the neighborhood, the comprehensive plan, and what you would want to see as a neighbor. So
I agree with everything you said. The only comment I have is the zone was 60 before. So every 60, so you had 60,000 square feet. Every 10,000, I think, if I can correct me if I'm wrong.
That's right.
Every 10,000 square feet was another unit.
Yep.
So I could have done even more units.
right, but again,
So I'm just saying, but
yeah, in the past, when a zoning
When it changed
change
to
happens,
120.
it goes through a process with the planning board, then it goes to a public hearing with the council, and allows abutters to have a say in that.
Right.
In this particular case, because the state has changed a lot, all of the regulations, nobody really had that opportunity. So again, just try to be sensitive to that, look at what you can, try to make some modifications to lessen those impacts, because those are pretty dramatic impacts for some of those really close neighbors, so.
Yeah,
And we'll be glad to work with you on trying to come up with some solutions that might help that, so.
thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, I'd like to entertain a motion that we continue this to July 7th, our next regular meeting,
Is it the 7th?
7.
Okay.
July 7th.
So
Could
ordered.
I have a motion? Okay. A second? Janice, thank you. All those in favor? Okay, unanimous.
Thank you for your time.
And we going to schedule the site visit through Advertilla.
I'll do the same thing as we did on my client's other project. I'll coordinate dates and circulate those, and we'll try to work out something that works for everybody.
Let me ask this, do you want to try to do both sites on one day or 2 different days, Ms. Eva?
They're not far from one another.
It's okay. We'll do the best we can.
We did on Spring Street already. He doesn't know anything. We can ask Mr. DeMello later. Mr. DeMello, can you stay for a few minutes?
Oh, sure.
After.
Yeah,
Thank you.
no problem.
Yeah, I'm sure we can accommodate that, whether it's the same day or different days. If it's the board's pleasure, we'll coordinate those.
Thank you.
Thank you. Lots of bug spray.
Rosemary.
Are we taking a break for a minute? The next item, item 6, General Board, Planning Board correspondence. We'd like to acknowledge Mr. Robert Willett from North Tiverton Fire District has submitted some information to our planning office. Item B, Planning Office update. Chris or Ed, do you have an update for us?
No.
Okay. We're all set to the next meeting. Item C is going to just be a little bit time-consuming, so I hope you bear with us. We've got to catch up on some minutes. Did Adam leave, or is he still here?
He's probably in the
Oh,
bathroom.
here he
I
is.
couldn't
Okay,
get
good.
him.
We're going to start with some minutes. We'd like to start with the March 3rd Planning Board minutes. If you have those, and if I could have a motion, either for corrections or approval. March 3rd. This was at the library. It was a regular planning board meeting.
I was there for them all, so.
Okay.
Do we have any changes?
No.
No changes.
Any changes to these minutes? Did I lose Rosemary?
Yeah, so I just saw-
March 3rd.
I think you were there, Yeah, I haven't missed any, so.
Yes.
I can vote on them.
Okay. If I could have a motion to approve the March 3rd minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, could I have a second? Thank you. All those in favor? 4 of us here. Do you have that, Ed? Okay, thank you.
One's a bathroom extension.
Okay, the next one is from our planning board workshop that we had at the senior center on March 24th. I did have one correction on that I submitted to Ed. It was on page 3 of 3. It stated that I had asked the staff not to pass out information for an application less than a week before. We since clarified that. We reviewed the planning board policies and procedures with the group and asked if we could all work towards following the deadlines that are written in the planning board procedures so that we can receive the information on plenty of time to review and research the data. And Ed, I submitted that in an email if you need it again. That's the only correction I had to March 24th. Does anyone have anything else?
No.
If I could have a motion to approve that?
Make a motion.
As amended.
Oh,
As amended, I'm sorry.
I make a motion to approve as amended.
Could I have a second? Thank you,
Janice?
Janice. All those in favor? All 4 of us,
Yep.
4 out of 4.
Item A. Did we do that?
Yes.
Yes.
That was just a correspondence.
That was just a, it was a letter from Mr. Willett.
It's not in this, this drive I'm looking at from the second to that. When did you get those correspondence?
I emailed it to you on, I forwarded it. It was an email that I forwarded.
It was
I saw it.
dated May 21st. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got March 3rd, March 21st. March 31st was a joint meeting with the town council. This was the one at the senior center where Attorney Romano presented the zoning amendments to the council. So for those that were there, if I could have a motion to approve. You were there.
Yeah. I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, could I have a second?
Yes.
Okay, we have a second. All those in favor? Okay, yep, so we've got 3 out of 3 that were there, Ed? Is that okay?
If that's all that were there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you weren't there. You weren't there.
No, it was not.
Okay. Okay, so moving on to the last one, April 7th. At the top of that meeting, it says March 3rd. Ed already has that for corrections. Ed, you have that, okay. And then at the bottom of the first page, Ms. Eva made a motion to continue the public meeting to April 7th. That should be the next meeting, because it's the April 7th meeting. Rosemary, did you have any other,
I don't have it with me.
do you want to see mine?
You made that change.
Yeah, I made that change. This was supposed to be for Cassett Reserve.
We had a lot of other things too. This was wrong, this was wrong. This was supposed to be in the format of the old format.
I think when we mentioned that to Ed, these were already printed, because I had those from our last meeting.
Okay, so make it change it to the right way.
We have,
I'm not voting on it.
No, I don't think we're gonna switch the format at this point, so.
Changes right there. They had the wrong.
No, we're not
date.
gonna, we're gonna keep the format that we're doing right now.
Twice, 2 different dates.
It's
Is that
filed
it?
in the binder.
I'm sorry?
that's all I noticed.
Okay, so there wasn't any, okay, substantive changes. Just formatting?
The format like we used to have it with it, you know, didn't take up as many pages and it's just, look at the binder that gets filed.
Rosemary is requesting that moving forward, that we have the old format to do the meeting minutes.
I'll take a look at it. But at this point, we're not gonna make a determination.
Okay. But that's the only substantive issues?
I didn't find anything else. Does anyone have any other corrections for the April 7th minutes?
You're okay?
Rosemary, if there are substantive corrections, then we
I
should,
can't remember.
okay. All right, April 7th, then a motion to continue the April 7 minutes.
Okay.
To June 16,
Okay.
okay?
You want to make that motion?
Is there a motion to
I'll
continue?
make a motion to continue it.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor? Okay, thank you. Okay, zoning, we don't have anything, we'll just pass on that. Tiverton Harbor Commission?
Yeah, I have the minutes. Hold on. Putting in my own name. Sorry.
Can you put the agenda back on the screen?
Chris, I think.
Or whatever you had up there. Just
Do you want to just look at mine for
Oh.
now?
No, I just
until
wanted that off
Oh,
the
okay.
screen, that's all.
Okay, sorry. We just have a recommendation for adopting the flood level warnings from the National Weather Service during the meeting. Nothing new in the Chase Marina. Nanaquacket CMRC water type designation. We presented the recommended CMRC water type designation changes for Nanaquacket Pond at the recent town council meeting was unanimously approved, and the Administrator Jones had made a formal request to the CRMC to make these changes. And that's it.
Thank you. Last item is Rhode Island legislative updates. I don't know if you want to do that.
I can give you a quick summary of the changes since I gave you that table. And if you want to stop and talk about any of those, we can do that.
Maybe just a high level.
Yep.
review.
So 8004 has passed the House. It's in the Senate. Same thing with 8003, 8007, 8005, 8006, and 8000 have all passed the House and are now sitting in the Senate. Is there a question?
Are they
Okay.
held over, have they made it to committee yet in the Senate?
I do not believe those have been scheduled.
Oh, okay.
I'm only speaking related to housing bills, so you can, the numbers correlate to the table I had given you previously. 8001 has passed the House, that's now in the Senate. I don't know if this one was on there, I think we had, there were two faith-based bills that were conflicting. The S2268 has passed the Senate, and it'll go over to the House. H7445, which was the other faith-based bill, was held in the House committee. So that probably is just gonna, 2268 will probably be the end result of that. 8031 I haven't seen that move. 8039 was held for further study, but the companion S2907 was considered in the Senate today. I don't know what happened. 8037 was held for further study. That's probably not coming back. And I could not get a quick answer on 8000 or 8006. What the 8006 is the affordable housing tax bill, and the other one is the homeless Bill of Rights. I don't know if you have any specific questions on those. I think the expectation is that the speaker's housing package bills will move forward as they have, I think with one exception over the last 4 years. The only one that did not happen was the ADU bill, the original ADU bill, but then subsequently the next year,
They're moving on to
They
budget.
did that one.
They're moving on to budget at the end of the week. Yeah. So, if it hasn't, it might just be held over.
I think there's a few of these that will create some confusion. The faith-based one is one of them. So is the single-family infill. I think there's just a lot of overlap, and it's just creating a very difficult landscape to figure out what projects go in what, track. And when you have that track, how does that track even work? Because we know from experience that when you write it into legislation, it doesn't always translate well into practical application at the local level. And so I expect we'll have more of that with this package of bills. These are not the worst that we've seen. There is one of them, I think it's 8004, is a bunch of technical amendments. I say technical in quotes because they're not always just technical amendments. That's supposed to fix some stuff. One of the minor successes we got was to get rid of there was a reduction, an additional reduction in timeframes for decision making, and we managed to get that taken out. So we saved, I think they were knocking it down like another 5 days or something. I mean, at that point, it's almost insulting. It's just like amendments just to amend so that you have to amend your regulations, because nobody is making or breaking a project on 5 days in a review process. It's becoming insulting, basically. You have to amend your regulations every time they touch the law, and they're touching it and making moves on 5 days. Not really meaningful stuff, but still you have to go through, that's 39 cities and towns that have to go through public hearing processes for, minutia. So, I would say if we had any success, that was probably it. It wasn't much, but at least we got that. Once we have a complete list, we could look at them a little more carefully and spend a little bit of time thinking about what that actually means and what types of changes you'd have to make as a result of them. Until we have the final list, we don't know for sure. I mean, we have a good idea, but.
Thank you, appreciate the update.
Sure.
Just one more quick item. We have a really important meeting coming up June 16th. That's on Vitel, and anything we just move to that date to also be heard. So attendance is going to be really important for that, because we do expect to take some votes.
Can I move my tail to the end, give everybody a break?
Yeah. I would suggest that the agenda be set up for Sousa Road, ECC?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, no, ECC,
no.
they're July, so
Right.
it's just Sousa Road condos.
Oh, right. Then,
Right.
Vitel.
So they'll go, Sousa Road will go first. And then just a note, it'll probably be at the high school.
That was the next thing I was gonna
3
say.
minute rule, is that
We
fast?
may have more people in the audience, so we felt it was safer to move it to the high school.
Do you have confirmation of that yet?
I filled out the online form, so I'm going to give it till Friday to just check back in with them. But
Okay.
it said it was open, so should be good.
And just, send out a reminder.
I
don't
no.
think so, no.
No, they're usually okay.
Yeah.
Was that with the library?
I thought there was with the janitors.
Yeah.
He said as long as you give him a heads up, he's fine.
Oh, okay.
And any information to us as soon as you have it, just so we can prepare for it. There's not much time left.
There'll be information going out to you tomorrow.
Okay.
Weston and Sampson updated memo.
Okay.
Vital.
Anything else? Rosemary, motion to adjourn?
Privilege motion, it's 9:29.
Thank you.
Adjourn.